Hey everyone. Well, I made it back. I'm gonna go ahead and get things situated here. Um, okay, so I can put up the sign in. Come on. There we go. All right. Hey everyone. Got everything situated here. See if we can. And there's the link pinned to the top. Sorry for the delay, but my bee club was starting their beekeeping beginner class tonight, and I had to do my little presentation. So we got that taken care of. And hey, Tom, Mitchell. Let's see who else. We got Lee out there. And we got Kimberly and we got Keith. So anybody wants to come and hey, David, Danette. So anyway, hey, there's Joey. And hey, beekeeping bro. Not sure. You look to be new. Welcome. So anyway, here's Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom. Hey, Charlie. How you doing?
Good.
I'm just going to get on for a little bit till more people get on. I'm a little tired today.
Need to kill your YouTube. You've got a feed. I can hear my.
I don't think I have it. It's off.
I can hear it. I do. I don't know what it is. There's Pastor
Is it still that way?
Hey, Sandy.
Oh, yeah, it is. Let me change my speaker.
Okay. Hey, Kim. So anyway, you got it? Tom, I still hear it.
Is that better?
1, 2. Yep. Now it's good. I think.
Okay. Some reason it changed on me.
Yeah, echo or something in there. Now I can still hear it.
I didn't say anything.
I don't know. Yeah, I hear it.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
I can hear you clear. It's. I can hear myself feeding back through a microphone or through your thing. But anyway, yeah. Last let's see. Last Saturday, I guess it was 45 degrees. I went ahead and did all my highs with OA, and then I think it was around noontime Wednesday of this week. It was sunny, pretty warm. Hey, David, and then Norman. I checked for mite drops by, pulling out the chloroplast from underneath my screen bottom boards.
Right.
And I had really little to none any drops. I seen one that maybe had 3 that I could find on the board. And then all the rest of them that I checked were pretty much just clean. I mean, I might have missed a few, but it wasn't anything noticeable or anything like that. So it seems that my mite treatment program is working real well this year as far as doing OA throughout the winter months I know January I didn't do any treatments due to either knobby or snow and stuff that we had, the bad weather. It's pretty cold.
Right. I missed January also, but I picked up February,
Yeah,
and I still think I might do a March one. But I checked 4 of my hives were actually checked frames, or 3 out of 4, and they all had 1 to 3 frames of brood already.
really.
Yeah. And
I
our
was out there today. Here it was 50 some degrees, and I went up there, and everybody was with good flight, strong. I did have one nuke there um, that I don't know. It seemed like to me the population was a little light, but since it was warmer, you had a lot more activity out the front door, and
Yeah.
and all that. And then I did put a pollen bucket out there, and away from the hives, around the building and stuff, they were in the sawdust and anywhere that maybe there was some moisture, trying to get some water. Hey, Tracy
Hey, Tracy.
and Richard. And there's Sandy, of course. And
Sandy, yeah.
yeah, Icy Mountain. She's from up in McHenry, Maryland.
Watching above you. It hit 65 here in my place, and the bees were flying and bringing in maple tree pollen. It started blooming today, the maple trees.
Well, there's been a couple other folks around here in my area saying there was some pollen stuff coming in. That's what I was getting to. I put the bucket out there. Normally, takes them a little bit. They'll find it. There's a bunch of bees around it. Now, I didn't walk up to it. I was looking at it from a distance, and it's a white bucket. So normally if there's bees on the outside grooming themselves, you could see that there's bees activity. But I didn't really see any activity. So I think there must be some kind of pollen blooming in the area already.
I know the witch hazel is blooming, and that's a decent sized bush.
Isn't that kind of like a whitish gray pollen?
Yes, I believe so. And I saw some of that light gray, whitish, off-white pollen coming in, and I saw some light yellow pollen coming in.
Rodney says that he's got red maples in his area.
Yeah.
And all that.
Well, I noticed on my silver maple tree, only the south-facing side was blooming. Because the north side wasn't yet. So it's just starting in my area. I took a little video. I couldn't believe how the pollen was coming in already. It looked like summertime.
Yeah. How you doing, Jack?
Hey, Jack.
Hey, Charlie. Hey, Tom. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
How's things up in New Jersey?
Good. I've been listening to you guys. I think it's pretty much about the same. It's getting warm. A little bit same like you, Charlie, but it's a little bit nervous, right? Because I'm just hoping it's not going to be a fall spring and it's going to get cold. We're going to get a cold snap in March.
Yeah, they were saying here next week that it might have a possibility of snow, but I think they've changed that.
Yeah.
And but it's going to get into I don't know. I looked at the weather here as far as the next couple weeks. I know it's going to rain. Today's what? Tomorrow's 55. Then it's going to get into the 40s by Monday or Tuesday at 42. It's going to be pretty much the average throughout the whole week, anywhere from 41 to 44 degrees. Sunday is going to be 38 or 34 on the 18th. And the monthly forecast, pretty much the daytime highs are going to average around the 40 mark, 40 to 45 at the most.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't see any real cold weather coming in the next 2 weeks. And typically, I'm in the southern part of Ohio. Typically, once we get to March, we will not get any severe, really cold weather. We might get, 20s and maybe in the teens but only one day, one night, and then it's back in the 20s and 40s to 50s, especially after the first week of March, maybe the second week at most.
Right. The honeybee compound, which is actually a neighbor of mine, and
Say hi.
he says he's got heavy pollen coming in, and maybe that's why I didn't see any. You know, as soon as the natural pollen comes in, if you're feeding,
See, come here. This
Hi.
is my daughter.
hi there.
These dudes like
Hi.
it's Daniela.
Hi.
Hello.
Anyway,
So maybe that's probably why I didn't see anybody hitting the pollen feeder right now.
Yeah.
Charlie, you put pollen sub out and nobody's hitting it.
If the natural stuff is coming in, that's the perfect way. If you have dry pollen powder, all I do is take a small little bucket, one of them kind of like square buckets,
Yeah.
and I lay it on its side, kind of rake the pollen out on one side of the bucket so the bees can fly in.
Yep.
And if natural pollen is available to the bees, they will go towards that. You know, they'll turn their nose up at the substitute, because the substitute is just that. It's substitute. It isn't real pollen.
So you have a natural source right now blooming?
Yes, I have a
Yes.
natural source in the area.
So do I, Jack. Maple trees are blooming, and
But I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't know whether you knew that, if they're not hitting your pollen sub, then I always go over there and sit there and watch the entrances of my hives and see whether or not there's enough restriction in the entrance reducers that you can see anybody coming in with pollen.
Yeah, I saw that too, and then we haven't the silver maples haven't popped yet. They're right about to, probably like another 2 weeks they're gonna pop. But I put pollen sub out in the beginning of the week, and they were all over it. And I did the same thing like you said, Charlie. I went back to the hives to see which hives were bringing it back in, and you can see the dusty bees coming back.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, that's from the pollen sub.
yeah, yep,
Yeah, that's the pollen sub. It was dusty bees
yeah.
and all
Yeah, you
that.
won't see that with real pollen.
No, nope, no. But I
Now,
was
with
happy. to
real
see-
pollen, you're going to see them on their baskets. There's going to be pellets.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually did a
Randy.
little video today because today was the first day I saw them bringing in real pollen.
Tom, where are you at again? I'm sorry.
I'm southwest of Ohio,
Okay.
so
Close to
down in the very corner. So a little bit south of both of you guys, not much. Half a state,
Yeah.
Yeah.
just probably 5 degrees difference, I'd guess, on average.
Well, me and Charlie are not that far apart, and apparently there's a big, well, not a big difference, but there's a difference. We're about a week. We have nothing blooming yet.
Well, I know just up to Dayton, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, it's good 5 degrees difference between Columbus and Cincinnati. And then if you get up in Cleveland, it's probably 10-degree difference.
Because it's south, it's more closer south.
Yeah, I kind of get some of the southern or mid-southern weather some days, and some weeks we get some of the little bit colder weather. It really bounces in the corner of Cincinnati, the Cincinnati area. Hey, Todd.
How you guys doing?
Hello, Todd.
Good.
Hey, Jack. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
So what's happening, Todd? Anything new and exciting since last night?
No, not much. Same old, same old. So it's one of those days. A 3-day weekend for me, though. So that'd be nice.
3-day
Yeah.
weekend, including today or Monday?
Monday off. Yeah, we get Lincoln's birthday off, and then the next week is President's Day, or I think it's Washington's birthday as well. So we'll get both those off.
Nice.
Right. I don't get Monday off, but I get the following Monday off.
Yeah.
Hello, Dan.
I don't get
Dan.
any day off.
All right, Charlie, I'm going to jump off because I
All
got
right,
a little
Tom.
headache. Looks like you got a little team going now.
Yeah. It's
I'll
always,
be in the
always
chat.
glad
Still.
to appreciate you coming in like that to help me out.
Yeah, no problem. I'll be chatting still.
Okay. We'll see you.
See you, Tom.
See ya.
Hey, Tom.
Sorry, I was getting my mic all set up.
Okay, Dan. Well, we got New Jersey and New Jersey
Yeah.
represented here. We got California.
The majority of the East Coast and one from California.
So, Todd, have you actually looked at your bees? I mean, I know it's been raining out there, hasn't it?
Yeah. No, I'll look at them tomorrow. I don't know what's going on out there, so we'll see. I'm kind of worried there might be a little light on stores, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
Well, now you got the rain at this time of year for you. Is there anything blooming or starting to bloom, like wildflowers of some sort?
well, there's wild radishes going right now, and then coming in from work, I saw some almond orchards blooming. A little bloom, not full bloom, but it just started today, so that's kind of encouraging.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that wild radish? Is that the same thing as the wild mustard?
Boy, I think they're really close. I think they're relatives, but they kind of look the same, but they're not.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But there's not too much going on here yet. It's matter of fact, this morning I woke up, it was 31 degrees.
It's pretty chilly.
Yeah.
You're going to have one of those mega blooms again, all this rain you're getting. California had that mega bloom last year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll see. We haven't had as much, at least around here. I know LA and San Francisco just got dumped on, but it hasn't. I mean, it's rained a lot here, but not like last year. But hey, every drop counts right now, so we'll take it. I know. I have an unofficial rain gauge in my backyard. It's a bucket, and it's one of those buckets that has markings for gallons or liters. And on, I think it was last Thursday, I put it out there. And since last Thursday, we had 4.5 inches of rain. But if you look at the National Weather Service official rain gauge, it's at the airport, and it's only like 2 inches. So I don't know if I got caught under a cloud or what.
Huh. Well.
But we've had some water, so that helps.
That's good. We've been
Uh,
dry the
so-
last couple of days.
Yeah, it's all coming. It's all coming your way, so
I
it
know.
might be fun. That's it.
It is coming. It is coming our way, right?
Jack is 10 miles south of me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're close. We're neighbors.
Mhm.
so yeah.
And Charlie, you're not that far south either.
Where you're located? Where at? You're in mid New Jersey.
Ocean County, if that gives you any indication. Seaside, Tom's River.
Not really.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll have to-
All right, so Atlantic City. So
all right, I know where Atlantic City's at.
a half an hour, probably a half an hour, 35 minutes north Atlantic City.
Yeah.
So you're at Little Egg Harbor Town, or
A little bit, right around there.
or Tom's River or something.
Tom's River is one town, 2 towns north of me.
Yeah, and I'm like Long Beach.
So
Island.
you're at Burner Gat Township,
Barnegat.
Barnegat.
Yeah.
Yep. That close enough.
I'm looking at the map. That's what I'm
Yeah.
looking at.
Yeah. I like
I
Long
have-
Beach, Long Beach Island, but I'm on the mainland.
I have 3 yards in Barnegat.
Hmm.
I got
Okay. I
3
know where-
yards in Barnegat. 2
And the
of them
rain, you know, Charlie, what's really crazy? So last year, right, we had a lot of rain, but it seemed like it would go around, like it would rain on the east and west side of us because we're in the Pine Barrens, right? So Pine Barrens it's all pine trees. It's a national forest that covers probably half the state in the mid lower portion of the state. And it gets so hot that it actually affects the climate and it doesn't rain there.
Hmm.
The rain goes around the pine trees and
Crazy.
it creates its own little subclimate that it doesn't get rain. That's why the pine trees thrive, because they don't need much moisture. They don't need much water.
Killed us last year.
Yeah.
Totally killed us. We were in drought. North of us was wet. South of us was wet. But you could watch the rain as it comes across the state. It starts to get to our area, and the clouds just like dissipate.
Hey, God. Yeah, I just want to say hi to Godfrey there. So, Godfrey, are you in Edgewood, Maryland? It's just south of me. And then there's Hanley. So you guys, you got the pollen coming in. You were what, 50 some degrees today? Was it bees flying?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Everybody was out today.
I sat alongside one of my hives today and studied the landing board for a solid 5 minutes and watched the activity, and I saw one bee come in with pollen.
Really?
One bee. He must have found some lonely crocus that opened up 2 towns over.
I went on the weekend on let's see, Sunday, and brushed off the I got my hives on a plastic pallet that is solid. So I went and I brushed off all the dead and went back there today, and they're bringing out the dead again.
That's
Not
good.
a lot, but they're bringing them out, so that's good.
Hey, Ricky.
What are you seeing, Charlie, down at your down by you?
Well, they were flying really strong today, and I put the pollen bucket out because they were down around where the public was, I'll say, and they had we have some trash piles as far as bark and sawdust and all this kind of stuff, and they were trying to. And yeah, Mike, I got honey left. I won't be running out anytime soon. Anyway, they were down there searching, so I put the pollen bucket out. But like I was telling Jack and Todd here, they didn't look like to me that they were hitting the bucket. Usually they'll land up on top of the bucket and groom themselves and go back to the hive. But I didn't see anybody on the bucket. Now, I was a good distance away, but you can usually see them bees landing on a white bucket.
Yeah.
And hey, Ricky, are you out there in, I think it's Illinois or Missouri or someplace? I think they're out there at that show.
I know they're hitting all of my buckets, all of the pollen that I have out. They're in it. They're in it heavy. Well, that kind of tells you there ain't crap around. There ain't nothing going on.
But so anyway, that's what I've noticed so far today, as far as the bees go. I mean, I had this one nuke out there that, usually when I'm raising up the top lid, I usually see a pile of bees in the top end of it. And let's see, they're out in Eastern Missouri conference. Hopefully it's going good for you there, Ricky. And I seen your post on YouTube with the little dummy kid mannequin, I guess you'd call him, in one of the hives. But anyway, it I was like, man, I found the queen on there, and I was just looking whether they were dwindling. So, and so anyway, seemed like they were flying out the front door, not as strong as some of the others, but at least they, are doing. Hey, JW. Yeah, Shane, I've seen them. They don't really bring in sawdust. What they do is down where my sawdust pile is, there's a layer of sawdust on the ground, and if it rains, that sawdust will get wet. And the bees, of course, can't swim, but they'll land on the sawdust. And I guess, for us, it doesn't look like there's any moisture there, but for them, they can actually suck up the moisture out of the sawdust and not endanger themselves about drowning and stuff.
Yeah, Charlie, it's funny you say that because I had an old wood pile, and in the springtime, I would start see the bees there like attacking the wood. Well, not attacking, but they were all over the wood, and that's exactly what they were doing. They're probably getting the moisture, getting water from the wood, and that's how I would judge. I'm like, all right, it's on. Season's here, but we're not there yet.
No,
Yeah,
not really.
We're going to go back into winter next week.
No, it's not. It's going to be cold for the next couple of weeks. I'm just wondering about the brood.
Yeah.
I mean, I have not dug into my hives or anything like that. And the only thing I've done is I went through the nukes and 2 of my 10 framers that you've seen like on my videos. I opened it up. Yeah, we got bees. Pulled up a frame. Yeah, we got plenty of honey. Put it back down. Closed it up. I'm done. And all that kind of stuff. Now, you guys in New Jersey, have you started doing any type of top insulation of your hives? Put any insulation board on?
That's usually what I do every winter, just a slab insulation on top.
Now, is it like a inch and a half? What do you call it? Styrofoam board?
Yeah. Yep.
Are you-
One inch purple.
Okay. And then you put that on top of the inner cover, and then your telly cover on top of that?
I put that on top of my candy box, and then I put my inner cover on top of that because that's where I store it. The candy box is 3 inches thick, so.
Okay, so you got a candy board on there.
Yeah. But it's cut down inside. I don't pack the candy box full. I use 2 and 3 pound bricks that I'll place in the center of the candy box. I don't leave like a candy box is usually the shape of the top of the hive in hardware cloth.
Mm-hmm.
I have it knocked down to where it's just like a 6x10 square right in the center. It basically acts as the inner cover, but it's a candy box because I want to put a brick right on top of where the cluster will be, and I don't want to leave all that space open. So that's.
I hope Darren's on here tonight because I watched his video, and what he did was he took a shim, and I'm gonna say it's 3 inches thick. Actually, it was a candy board, I think, at one time, or a quilt box. Put a layer. I've lost 2 hives in 5 years. You don't need to change anything. I don't know whether I've gotten that good at it. And, but he basically took the inner cover off. He had about a half an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch of spacing underneath. and then he had the insulation on top of that, and then he put his telly on top of that.
Yeah, I run that insulation under my telly cover all year. I don't change that configuration.
Yeah.
Summer, winter, I got that insulation under there.
It's kind of the way Tom does it.
Yeah. Yeah, Doug. Yeah, I can hold on. I don't.
I bet
Yep.
there's another dishwasher going to be bought here pretty soon.
Facebook Marketplace going on.
Yeah. I take over for Charlie when he's
Hey,
on the phone.
you know what? I want to ask Charlie. I saw that Hive tool that this guy made. It's a homemade one. Looks like a railroad spike that he flattened the end of it off and then made a hook on the other end. And it was
Yeah,
down
that's like Bruce's bee has. He was showing
Bruce-
that.
Yep, Bruce has one. Did you see that down there, Charlie?
Yeah,
wondering-
I've seen that guy several different times over the years at different places.
Yeah, I'm wondering how to get in touch with. How do I order one of those? Is it good or is it not good? Or is
I
it a
looked at it, and to me, it's kind of crude. I'll put it to you that way. I mean, it's his blacksmith, and you take a hammer and smash the end down and flatten it out like a spoon,
Yeah,
and he's got that hook, and I'm like, man, I like my J hook a lot better than that thing. I just that's my opinion of it.
yeah.
And, I seen him back in 2019 down in Knoxville, and he was making that stuff then. And he also had a hive lifting type of machine and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Doug, I haven't heard anything about my hive lifter yet.
Did you,
Yeah,
did you order one, Charlie?
I ordered one. Yeah,
Nice.
it's only been a week.
Hey,
I
Charlie,
think-
look what some of my friends in China sent me.
Oh yeah, I got a nice plane there. It looks like mine.
Nice, Dan.
Is that actually from China?
Yeah,
Everything's from China.
yeah.
Mine was a Max Ant. I got bought from a guy who retired. Hey, Ripple.
It was labeled as Maxant.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I paid a whopping $39 for it.
Now you need some frames, Dan, right?
Yeah, we need a good flow this spring.
Some low valley frames to see how you can make that thing curve.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a whirl on Charlie's recommendation. I'm gonna give it a whirl.
What's that? The plane?
Yeah,
I like it. I like it better than the knife. The only problem with that thing is you have to regulate the heat. And Doug from Longman Apiaries hooked me up on a rheostat, I guess you would call it, from Amazon.
Mhm.
I've got that in my what do you call it, basket or whatever. It's a router rheostat for a router.
Oh, nice.
I guess you can use it to speed the bit up higher RPMs and stuff.
Yeah. So it's basically just throttling the voltage.
Yeah.
When you get to a
What
temperature
you
want,
find with
you
that
leave it
unit
there.
is when you plug it in straight, it'll get overheated,
Mhm.
and then it'll cook the darn honey on it, and then you
Yeah.
got to clean it off because it will not cut. So what I had to do is that there's an inline switch. You had to turn it on and off and on and off and that kind of stuff, because you
Right.
might be doing something else with the extractor. You got to turn it right off because then it gets cool but still hot, and then it has to get up to that certain temperature so it'll really slice the wax off and everything. So I'm hoping this here regulator will kind of keep it at a certain temperature, and I won't have to worry about that problem.
Yeah. I understand there's a learning curve to everything. Cycling it on and off.
Hey, Nancy.
Hey guys, I'm going to jump off real quick because you guys are making me hungry. I haven't eaten dinner yet.
Yeah, we're all eating.
I got
I
a plate full of pistachios.
but I'll jump back in probably a little bit later.
All right, Todd.
All right. See
All
ya.
right, see you,
Thanks for
Todd.
stopping in.
See you later, Todd.
So, that's the down part. The downside of it. Now, they show in a lot of videos that you take it and you pull it down the length of the frame, and you can do it that way. But what I found is if you go across the frame, well, let's say make 4 or 5 cuts with it, and let's say your frame wax is sort of like it's uneven, it's got a divot in it.
Right.
You can take that handle. If you push the handle down and angle the blade down, it digs in more to the wax. Now that's you can set that blade. Usually it's set just about right, and it'll cut a. It has a certain depth about it because that there basket that you see, that metal basket, kind of floats across the top of the wax, and you can gauge the depth of the cut. It's about the thickness of a piece of paper towel. And I found that if you go across frame, like pulling it towards you 4 times, that if there's a low spot in the wax, you can actually go down and grab that low spot, uncap it, and then come up on the top part without, cutting the whole top of it off. If you have a straight knife, you have to go in there with a uncapping fork and pick that out of there.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to try it because I fork everything, Last year I forked probably 25 boxes,
Oh, that? No, heck, forget that. Yeah.
I didn't realize I was on mute. I was like, yeah, you fork everything up.
No, you're picking the cappings off on all your honey? No way. I'd be using a cold knife before I do that.
Yes.
And I seen a guy, he was on a Michigan chat where he was talking about his operation in Virginia, and he was using a cold knife, and he did a good job with the cold knife. But I'm thinking to myself, I don't know, to me, I've always had a hot knife or a hot plane. I always had the hot plane and the hot knife. And it's like, why would you want to, sit there and saw across the cappings where you just pull it across and it slides off her just as nice and easy. So.
Yeah, I use a hot knife, not to go against anybody. That's what I use. I've perfected it and it works for me.
Yeah, what do you got, a Pierce knife or whatever it is?
Yep. Yeah. But I do have to unplug it, because it will get way too
That's
hot.
one thing I do recommend to everybody, that if they get any type of hot knife, hot plane, if they offer one with a regulator built into it and it costs you an extra $25, buy it, because it's well worth it to be able to regulate that heat.
It gets too hot, and when you're transferring those frames from, an uncapping tank to the extractor, your knife is still cooking, and you need to turn it off.
That's right. Well, see, that's what happens with me and the hot plane, is that I will sit there and uncap both sides. I'm using a Hive Butler uncapping tank.
Yep.
And then, like you say, I walk 2 or 3 steps over. I stick it in my extractor, let it drip dry over there. Then I go over here, grab another frame out of the box, which is right behind me. And by the time you do all that, that thing's cooking. It's only maybe 45 seconds to a minute, and it catches up to you after a while.
Yeah, it almost seems like when you run it down the frames, it's sealing the cells right behind the ones that you're cutting. So you're cutting it and sealing them at the same time.
Hmm.
So unplug it. Yep, you're right, Charlie.
Well, now that was something that I've
Right.
noticed in with my hot plane. Like you say, it gets a little too hot, kind of puts like a glaze on the honey or something. Sort of,
Yes.
you know, I
Yep.
wonder if that's some of the wax melting, from the
Yeah.
cappings.
It's getting melted and getting spreaded like a butter knife, right down the frame.
So what I've done is I used the uncapping fork and I just drag it down to maybe, just drag it across it. I'm not tearing anything up, but just across it, and it seems to break that up
Yeah.
and all. So Nancy says to use it at a different angle. That might help. But like I say, I'm going to buy this heat regulator and see if that doesn't solve a lot of my problems.
Yeah, I think that should work good, Charlie.
Yeah, trigger, huh? That's interesting. Yeah.
That's not that hard of a problem to solve.
A trigger?
Well, to regulate the voltage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
trying to see that. I'm trying to see the comments too that you're
I can't even see them. Where the hell are they? There they are.
that you're talking about, Charlie.
this is called uncapping plain DC. So Minnesota, Mike, how's everything up in Minnesota? Is it still like an ice box up there? Maybe you can drop in and say hi. Been a while since you've come on. But that's what's really happening here as far as
I started building some two-way pallets, so I think I'm gonna try that and see what the big rave is about them. Maybe it'll be easier, maybe it'll be harder. I don't know.
oh no. I was
That's
looking
fine.
at I was looking at some of the comments here. Hey Lynn.
I could say one thing.
Yeah,
I'm ready for the season.
Yeah, I am too, a little bit. Hey Phil. I don't know. I want to take and upgrade my honey production highs by 2. And I'm thinking to myself, I need basically 10 medium boxes to do that with, bottom boards and lids and all that. I got some extra. I usually have extra bottom boards and stuff like that and lids.
Yeah.
And I really should be doing that now, going up and grabbing woodenware. And so I can get in the basement here before spring hits and get it painted up and get it ready to roll.
Yeah.
Charlie, you're running. Are you running migratory covers or tea covers?
I run tele covers.
Tele covers, okay.
I still got to render wax and stuff like that. Go through a bunch of boxes and scrape some frames and put aside my swarm trap frames. The ones I've been using, the swarm traps. I got a bunch of frames out there that molded out.
Yeah, Rodney's gonna get a trailer and take it to the mountains and grab honey up there. I'm not sure where he lives or.
Yeah, I got the same, Dan. I got a bunch of moldy ones that I'm gonna have to re-wax them, and I started I started using masking tape on the top of the frames and labeling which frames I'm going to strictly use for bait boxes.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
trying to.
So they'll always be. They will not be in my production.
Yeah.
They won't be in my production. They'll be strictly swarm boxes.
Yeah.
So are you trying to grow your bee hives and whatever through swarms?
I put swarm traps in every yard I have, at least one, and
Yeah. I do the
it
same.
works.
It's funny because a lot of times I catch swarms, but they're not my bees, which whatever. I do it more as a kick, kind of like, something to do. You pull up in the yard and you look up in the tree and you're like, huh, there's activity up there.
Yeah, I visited one of my yards last year in the early morning. It was like around 7 a.m. The grass was still wet, and I'm just doing, an inspection, and I almost stepped on a swarm. So it's at a farm, and they were in, I don't know what kind of weeds they were growing high, and they crawled up. They were too heavy. They bent over, so a swarm was on the ground, and I was there early in the morning, so everything was still wet. So the swarm was still on the ground, and I was able to get them. They walked right into an empty box that I had on me, luckily. But if I was there another 2 hours and the sun dried up all that day moisture, they would have hit the air and been gone.
Yeah, no doubt.
Funny how those things work. Like you just stumble onto one of your own swarms.
It happens.
Yeah. These guys.
Yeah, Charlie. How was your spring last year? I mean, did you so we were calculating around May. The first week of May is like prime swarm season, right? Swarm week. Do you experience the same thing?
I try not to have swarms. I get in there late March, and I set my hives up for. Right now, they're in that configuration behind me there. There are 3 mediums. And then I set up the configuration of my honey hives, which will be 2 mediums, a queen excluder. I'll start out probably with 2 honey supers. And the third box that I take off the top normally would be the bottom, but I'm not sure how it's going to work out this year. I'm going to, if I get the amount of bees this
So
spring,
Apis,
like I had last year with Apis.
Yeah,
And
Apis.
it caught me off guard last year. So
So you don't set up any swarm traps in your yard?
no, I did have a couple swarms last year. They landed on some logs, and I caught 2 of them. I think they were from my nukes. One of them left and went someplace else after I got them in a box, as it was late in the evening, and the other one stayed. So, it was just kind of way where I used Bob Walker's swarm lure, and what I do is spray that in the back of the box near the frames, and that seems to swarm molester, and that will draw them bees right inside the box.
Yeah.
Hey, Minnesota Mike.
Hello, sir.
How you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Hello, Mike.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing there?
Good. Cold up there, Mike?
Is that a real cat, Mike, up ahead of you? Or is that
Yes.
a painting? Is that a painting?
The cat.
That is actually, this is the reason I don't have mouse guards up there. That's Tilly.
He looks like he's part of the painting.
Yeah, she really does. Hey, I've been meaning to tell you something, Charlie. I don't. After I got back from the hospital, I'd forgotten to take my plastic wrap off. You know, the wrist brace.
Oh, the wristlet, yeah.
Your favorite cat, the black cat Sheba. She noticed that and came over and started biting it.
Really?
She was trying to tear it off. Yeah. So it was just one of those things. So kind of funny. And by the way, some of you guys might know this, and some of you might not. This is a only to find out you're in 90. Okay. This is a Spalded maple board here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the doggone thing is 12 feet long. And at $4 a board foot, I'll let you guys figure out how much that thing is. I think it's around 400, something like that. But I thought you'd appreciate that, Charlie.
Yeah.
Just
Sound
one
like
of those.
somebody overpriced it.
Well, in our market here, if you go to Rockler and try and pick it up. I don't know if you guys have any Rockler woodworking stores, but
Yeah, there's some around, I think.
yeah. So it's no, they're just. I think you can get a 8-foot board or something like that, really thin for $65. When I say thin, I'm talking about 1/8 of an inch, and I imagine they're thinking about veneer, but
Wow. Do you have, Mike? You have that running in all around the rooms? The cats. I've seen people make these things that the cats can go all over up top. Yeah.
okay. So I got this cabin from one of our governor's secretary's family, and I bolted the ceiling. I'm going to see if I can do this. I don't know if it's going to work or not. I'll do it some other time. So I've got beams and rafters up here, and
That's so cool.
Jack, there's boards all over the place. You know,
Can they? Do you have holes in the wall that they can go from one room to the other?
No, I don't. But what I do have is a double airlock cat doors on the front and back decks.
Oh God.
So that gets really kind of fun. So you know, I basically, unless it's raining, I never have to clean the cat box, which is kind of nice. So
Yeah.
Norma, you get Cherry and oh man, yeah, that sounds fantastic. You got access to all that wood there. So Charlie, there was a party in Gaithersburg last night.
Okay.
Cousin Eric was there, and this fellow bought. He brought some mead there, except I think he called it flang or flan. And I think Eric might not understand. I've never heard of a mead, and I think it was spelled FLAN, and I haven't looked that up. But he was asking, do you know anybody that has any honey there? And Eric goes right away, yeah, Mike knows. He'll set you up with Charlie.
And he lives in Gaithersburg?
Probably within 30, 40 minutes of Gaithersburg. I don't know what direction. He works for
that's at least an hour more away, I think.
Yeah. And I don't know if he's towards you or away from you or whatever. So that's
yeah, there's probably somebody over that way closer. I mean, they're at least an hour or more a drive.
Yeah,
that's closer to Washington D.C. area.
Right. So he actually works for the Department of Homeland Security, and so he who knows where he works.
There's the question for you. The cat door is a turnstile?
No, it's a flapper. Turnstile. For the rest of you that don't know, I actually do feline rescue, and at one point I had like 9 animals in this thing, and they were all trained, so it wasn't an issue. But no, a turnstile actually is pretty. That's a pretty good one, actually. It's probably a lot closer to the truth than most people know. So,
that'd be more like what do you call it? A revolving door.
Oh man, sometimes. Mike's for cats pass crazy. Thank you, Norma. I've even worked with an abused tiger once, and a 600 pounds pissed off tiger is an interesting thing. I'd never want to do that again, but I didn't realize that tigers actually purr. They huff. It's when the cat's really happy there. So all my cats are named Stupid Joseph. Well, my smartest cat, Joseph, died last Friday there,
Mm.
the Siamese. So fast acting tumor on there. But anyways,
Now you were saying, I know that you had a what was it, a toe or something amputated off?
say that again, please.
I say with your medical problem, didn't you have a toe or something amputated? Amputated?
Yeah, I did. The doctor screwed up and was hitting me with the wrong antibiotics. It was a diabetic ulcer underneath the foot, just a little teeny thing. And yeah, so I had the big cat cut off and part of the instep and so on. So it's
So you're diabetic too, huh?
yeah, type 2, but I mean it's completely under control. In fact, when they had me in the hospital, I wasn't even taking any metformin or whatever. But I also get a hell of a lot of exercise and eat pretty healthy. So I'm lucky that way. So
Yeah, I'm type 2 myself, and I don't know. They gave me some new medicine here, that Roseltion or whatever it's called. They advertise it on television. And
yeah.
I took that stuff today for the first
Well,
time. That'd be the last time I take that because all I wanted to do is go to the bathroom all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, man, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, I haven't heard that one. That doesn't sound. I'm sorry, Charlie.
But,
On the other hand, you got your system cleaned out.
Yeah, there's a plus.
Hey, Jack, I had to laugh. I was listening here, and you were talking about how you're kind of in an island area there. As
Yeah.
far as so, Coon Lake, at least for 90 years, the weather splits over it. It's just nuts. I worked in the Pillsbury Tower headquarters in Minneapolis, and I could actually see 40 miles up towards my cabin. Well, stop. Take my meds. But anyways, so I'd actually I didn't realize what was going on when I first moved up here 25 years ago. I see these huge storms coming. Like, I got to go home. It splits. It just splits. In fact, I really shouldn't have any bees here at all. So we're going to be moving some of them. But yeah, it's just amazing. So we might be going on a 30-year drought. So
Yeah, it's amazing. But we have some some friends, and they're like, "Oh my God, the black locust is going crazy!" And we got all this going on, and they're only like 30 miles away, and I'm like, "Yep,
yep, same here." Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Well, in fact, our lake is down 2 feet too. So, like, wow. Okay, that's always fun with a 28-foot pontoon boat. But
and in Minnesota, I didn't think it was dry there at all.
In certain areas, that's funny you should mention that, because the West has been having problems on and off. But no, so we've got the St. Croix that turns into the Mississippi that divides Wisconsin and Minnesota, and that's where any of my production hives are going to go. It's basically drought proof there, Jack. But
nice.
Yeah, it's just. By the way, can you take that doggone background photo off with all that goldenrod? You're pissing me off. I'm jealous.
I can smell it. I can smell it from here.
Oh, isn't that? Yeah, that'd be a wonderful thing, Dan.
It looks better in a picture than it really. It's a short field, and
okay.
I could change it. I can put some bricks back there.
My there's a guy who's like a very serious sideline. Usually runs about 100 on the north side of the lake, Troy Slaughter, and we were driving over Wisconsin just on the other side of the St. Croix as we're coming to a thing called Taylor's Falls, which is kind of like a mini fjord. I think a lot of Norwegians moved here when they saw that. I mean, literally. And we were driving up on the hillside, and Jack, there was like field after field after field of goldenrod. You should have seen Troy. He's driving the truck and he's doing this.
Yeah,
it's a glorious thing there. So, Charlie, you were asking about upper entrances.
Well, now, you have a system of insulation and everything for your hives.
Really overkill. Yeah.
And do you do an upper entrance or you don't do it at all?
Absolutely not. Don't do that at all. And but that being said, every single one of my deeps actually has a metal spin disc. So yeah. I looked at the plastic ones. I'm like, and I know I'm going to break one of those when they Propolis them. But so that every single super I've got has got those things. So what I do is I stack them double deep, Charlie. And then as soon as it gets warm, I'll I'll cut through the insulation. And I need to do a video on this because some other people have asked about it. And I actually got this more from, it's kind of a combination of what Troy and I have been working together on over the years. Kind of. So as soon as it got warm, I opened that up just enough for a couple bees to get in and out so they can go and do their cleansing flights. If it's a really strong hive, of course, they just drop all the way down and fly out. But okay, Jack.
There we go.
Yeah. Then we're getting a cold snap here, and I close them back up. But I do want something there so they can go out and do their, cleansing flights. But I want to keep that heat dome. And if you keep that heat dome, and I did this only 1 year, Charlie, I put the moisture board up there, which some people might not know this, but it's called Built Right, basically. Kind of a siding sheathing thing. But if I do that, and for as heavily insulated as the tops of the hives are, I think my hives have got 4 layers of the 2-inch pink. So that comes out to, I don't know, like R35, R40. I get no moisture on the top whatsoever. And then upper entrance takes care of the cleansing flights. So we've tried doing tried just letting them in there, let them eventually warm up and go down and go out. And honestly, it takes really not that much work to provide all those upper entrances, and they're not upper entrances.
My thing is tomorrow I'm going to be going to the Maryland State Beekeepers. It's one of their, I think, 4 meetings they have a year. He's going to have Bill Heschbach, who talks about the condensing hive, which is i.e. the unventilated top, top ventilation. Talks about, wrapping the hive around 3 sides with a insulation on top.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, when you got 30 hives, you can't be wrapping and carrying on like that.
No.
But my question is, I have other people in my club and other clubs that I belong to that will put insulation on the top, and and you're trying to keep the humidity to go up instead of condensing on a cold surface. It's the insulation doesn't let it get cold. So like my license hive, which doesn't have, I close all the ventilation up.
Oh, you do? Okay.
The water goes down the side.
Yes. Yep.
And that's the guy up in Utah, up in the Yukon, Teratif.
Yeah. What's his name?
I don't know what I can't pronounce his first name.
I can't either.
It's the last name is Teratif, huh?
He should know what he's doing in the Yukon, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But what I was getting at is it, I mean, I got my hives and I put the carpet on there for a wind block. And I've been doing that for quite a few years. And it's gotten to the point where, I get my bees through the winter, and it's like, okay, is it worth me spending the money and the time building a shim that will have, let's say, a 2-inch piece of styrofoam in there that's an R10 plus factor, and putting that on top of the hive to kind of give that bees that heat dome is what they're looking for, is what they're talking about. And I know, Mike, you have that hive, and you put insulation on the sides, and then you got a roof or something that goes to it, don't it?
Yeah. Okay. I'll try and run through it real quick here. Actually, there's a forget what the guy's name is. I'll get it here real quick. His channel is called Father Daughter Honey, and he's in Minnesota here, and he's actually put up a question about upper vents. So
Yeah, I seen him, and I somehow got on his website, and he was new,
oh yeah,
and he had about 7 frames of cat brood from corner to corner, and I'm like, pull half of it out, and put more empty in. And what's he do? Oh no, he puts a queen excluder on, and the sucker swarms like crazy.
oh,
You know, he does,
well,
it's like
he's new. You know, he's
he's
new, and he has
new, and it's like that's one thing I've learned about this single brood chamber management slash modified demo. It's actually a modified demery system where you're cycling cat brood out of the bottom box up to a top box on top of the stack, and you got honey supers in the middle, and you alleviate the swarming problem, and you increase your honey production by twofold, like 50%. And it works. It's a lot of work to it. That's why I want this hive lifter, so I can pull the stacks up as a unit, slide a honey super underneath and under super, and then or go into the brood chamber and pull brood out and put empty in and stuff like that.
Have you ever tried the Snell Grove?
A what?
The Snell Grove board?
Snell Grove?
Yeah.
Oh, I live by those.
Yeah, I got 10 of them on a shelf behind me. It's
do
a
you?
pretty neat.
Good for you.
It's a pretty neat way of doing things. All you're doing is bleeding all. It's basically your Day-Marie, Charlie, except you're continuously bleeding the bees off of that top box and letting them go, fooling them into going back to the bottom box. Look it up sometime and read about it.
I've seen it, and I've seen people try to explain it, and I'm thinking to myself, that is the most confusing damn thing I've ever seen.
It is very confusing until you get your door sequences down, and then it works. But Day-Marie works just as well. I do quite a bit of that myself. But
Do you really?
There's nothing wrong with Day-Marie. You want to make a lot of honey, Day-Marie.
Okay.
Yeah, that works really well.
The biggest thing is if you keep cycling half the capped brood, there was like the club that I belonged to up in Pennsylvania. The one guy who was a so-called the expert about it, he was always bringing up the open brood, upstairs, and then he would have all these queen cells.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you? I said, that's great. That's great if you're trying to make splits.
Exactly.
But I said, why are you doing that if you're not wanting to make splits? Why don't you bring up the cap brood or very old larvae that's beyond queen rearing age and put that upstairs, and your hive gets bigger and bigger and bigger with a workforce. And then your bottom box, if you keep pulling that half of that brood out and putting an empty comb in, she just keeps laying, and she doesn't have any wanting to go out and swarm whatsoever. Yeah. And that's the thing. I talked to a lot of my friends who are commercial guys, and I haven't figured it out yet. And I don't think it's like, well, just stack more honey boxes on and give them more room. Well, it doesn't work. No. I've done that. I did that last year, and you go down in the bottom box and there's swarm cells.
Doesn't work like that.
I don't know how the commercial guy gets around that.
Mike, you said you live by Day-Marie?
What's that?
Mike, you do a lot of Day-Maries?
I don't at all. And there's a reason. Don't at all. The only time I ever use double screen bows too, Dan, is if I'm just screwing around trying to make a new queen.
Yeah.
Or if I'm overwintering or trying to bring a weak hive back up. And that is just crazy crap, because I'll take a weak hive and put it on top of the other one. And I actually take a queen excluder, double layer queen excluder. Now, Ian Stepler does the same thing, except he doesn't do a double layer.
Mhm.
We put it on there and Bob Binney does something very similar to that. You put the weak hive on top of it. Let's say the hive was damaged. This one that I was bringing back had some syrup damage to it because I put bags up there and they leaked, but all the nurse bees go up there and they repopulate that thing. And as soon as that's up there, it only has to be on there for, I don't know, like 6 hours, if that. The nurse bees immediately go up and populate that. Then you pull that queen excluder out and you put the double screen board in, and you've got an immediate boost of
Nurse bees.
Yeah. I'm going to back up here a sec for some questions. And one of the things to throw at you here, Charlie, we've been doing 4-packs for a while. And if you do a 4-pack, you're actually using half the insulation, if you think about it, because the other,
Slide them together.
yeah. So, I like that a lot, but then Russell Koopman, God bless him, turned me on to something a little bit different. So I do them in 3-packs now. I have one in the back on the back deck that's a 4-pack, but I like that because I can tilt them all forward a bit, so any moisture that gets in there runs out. But you end up using, in a 4-pack situation, you end up using less insulation too. So that's a grand thing. And then William was asking about the Propolis study that I did for retrofitting hive boxes, supers. And basically what we've come up with is just taking the thinnest Dremel blade you can and just scoring the crap out of the inside of the supers. And they will pack those things up. Now, I don't have hive beetles here.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Hey, Tilly, do you kill those? No, it's just the cold. But what'll happen is that the beetles will get in there, and then the bees actually try to propolis them in there, and so you end up with these waves of propolis. So we've got that figured out. Dr. Umberto wants to know the results. I just haven't done any videos. Sorry about that. But the other thing that we do is every single hive that I have, hey Morgan, is that I've got a propolis plastic screen on the top of everyone because I want all the propolis I can possibly get.
Propolis envelope.
Yeah. So we tried the rough cut. Unfortunately, Vince's mill, he just couldn't do it because his big wood miser, the blades just aren't rough enough. I mean, he does quality work. So we ended up doing the scoring. But I think that covers it.
And Mike, what do you do with all that propolis? You making tinctures out of it, or?
Actually, Jack, I leave it, and I should be harvesting it every year so it gets fresh propolis up there.
No, but you said you put. I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood. You put.
No, not at all. No, they fill that up, so I get a full sheet of propolis on the top of the hive, and propolis is antiviral, antibacterial,
Yes.
so it helps bees. Right.
Yep.
So I leave them.
Oh, you're not like using a queen excluder to make a propolis trap or nothing.
No, it's the plastic sheets. But the idea is to get that as much propolis in there as you possibly can.
So
and what I need. Go ahead, Jack.
No, you go. Sorry.
What I need to do is take the pollas off every winter or every spring and put a new one in there so the propolis itself is being refreshed. But yeah, I want that on there. So I never really thought about that until right now. Thank you, Jack. So take those plastic sheets out, you put them in the freezer, and so the propolis gets nice and crisp. The plastic still can, flex, and you just basically put it over, like a big Tupperware tray and just crush it, and it drops out.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the thing there in DC. No, I have not checked out the price of propolis, and I'm going to end up with a crap load of it this spring. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I usually keep a container, whatever container you want to call, like plastic ice cream container, whatever, Tupperware, and I scrape whatever propolis I can scrape off. I put it in, a container, and by the end of the season, you'd be surprised how much you can accumulate.
Yeah. I got a softball size ball of propolis. Jesus.
Yeah.
So Mark's asking what the purpose of getting all the propolis in the hive is. So there was a whole bunch of studies done not many years ago.
It was about 6 or 7 years ago or more.
No, you're thinking of Spivak. No, she was piggybacking off of what was going on.
That's what she talked about down at Nobby.
Yeah, yeah. So what her team did, and by the way, the University of Minnesota Egg is literally, I've spent so much time on that campus, it's kind of weird, but yeah, she was actually piggybacking on some other research that was done, and she quantified it, which is the important part. But the propolis is in Minnesota is mostly cottonwood sap, but it's very powerful as far as like antiviral. So what they found out was having a good propolis, and bear with me here, propolis sheath or propolis lining.
Envelope.
Thank you, Charlie. I have an extra bowl of popcorn for you here, literally.
Envelope around
There
the
you go.
bottom.
Thank you so much. And it builds up in there. And what they found is that it can reduce the viral load by about 90%. Now, if you think about how our hives have been weakened by all the pesticides,
Yeah.
coming in, making them a lot more susceptible to the viral loads, if I can reduce the viral load by 90%, I'm all over that crap.
It's also beneficial in their use of their resources. They don't need to use as many resources to combat the viral load if they're in a good propolis envelope,
Absolutely.
So
And the thing of it is,
beneficial for them.
remember, it isn't the bees making the propolis.
Nope.
And it's the bees bringing in the tree saps or whatever they get.
Yeah.
That actually has the antibacterial effect already built into it. They're smearing it on their hive.
Yeah.
And they literally have to have somebody else help them take them off the legs.
true.
It's not like pollen.
That's
No.
true.
You know what is the easiest part about collecting propolis is in the wintertime. If you have a dead out and it's frozen, you just run that hive tool down the side of the frames and it just comes right off. It's not
it just shatters. That's a really good point, Jack.
It's like shattered glass. Yeah, like you say.
Winds up everywhere.
So Troy actually makes tinctures and he sells the tinctures.
Yes. Yep.
And goes from there. By the way, so the rule of thumb is if you want to make a tincture fast, you use alcohol.
Yeah.
I use Everclear.
Yeah.
I used alcohol for a while and melting it down in the alcohol, and then I was painting it on the inside of my swarm boxes.
That's one of the things they did, Dan. Yeah.
I did pretty much all of my swarm boxes that way.
Yeah, it's absolutely wonderful.
You run it down there, and you just get a roller and roll it out, and just let the alcohol evaporate off, and then the box just smells like propolis.
So you're the only one I've actually talked to that's done that outside of the egg lab here. So good for you.
Oh yeah.
Hey Dan, I still have one of your old Bettys, man, and she's still kicking, catching swarms.
I gave him a swarm in a box one time. I said, "Go ahead and throw the box away when you're done, because that thing's about had it." He's still using it.
You gotta love it.
Is that one of the best swarm traps there I have?
Stinky old rotten
thing.
Yeah, it's like the old rotten egg.
Some little thing in a tree. The bees propolis it's rot. Rot is disease because of all the boxes, though. I have some issues with propolis envelope thing in a tree. The bees propolis it all because it's rot. Rot is disease, and all of our boxes are. Yeah, that's not true. It is to a point. Absolutely. But if you have we've got these tall white pines here, and we actually don't end up with any rot on the inside, and they're propolizing everything. Now, do they propolize rot? Absolutely. I mean, you'd think, right, to shield themselves.
Propolize a dead mouse.
Yes,
they will.
Thank you. That's really funny to see.
Yeah.
So
I have arborvitaes and Leland cypress trees, and they're in there all the time in the spring, collecting that propolis.
Are they?
Sap and yep. Yeah, I think that's a majority where my bees are getting it from.
Okay, so cottonwoods in Minnesota is the main thing. And for the folks that don't know about it, it was conifers have the most antiviral sap that there is. Pine trees, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. So but I wish you guys could see this cottonwood I've got between me and our bog. It is almost 90 feet tall, and when it comes down, it looks like snow.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty insane, but they don't propolize because the rod bees will produce propolis on any surface. Yeah, so I have a video that I shot where I was actually treating a feral hive inside of a pine tree 20 feet up. And that hole was about that big, and it had so much propolis on it. It was just amazing. And DC, that's one of the reasons I want to get some propolis in mine. I'm trying to run strictly Caucasians. I mean, Carniolans because of where I live. But I really, I want to get more Caucasian blood in there for the propolis. So kind of a thing there. Norman, you're way too kind. I didn't think, well, you know something?
No,
Yeah.
you're talking about the entrance of the tree. That was one thing that Marva Spivak talked about, was the fact that the entrance area was like about a quarter of an inch thick of propolis.
Yes.
In that
Oh
area.
man. Yep. Yes. Yep.
But then and the rest of the tree area wasn't as thick, or it was thin coating.
And I've wondered about that, Charlie, because from my own experience of seeing hives in hollow trees, if it's a good sized tree, you're going to end up with like a good branch hole about yay big, at least in the white pines we have here. And I've seen them do this, and I forget what the bee is down in South America that does propolis. I mean, I think they produce as much propolis as they do honey, and they're trying to reduce the entrance, is what they're doing.
Well, I was wondering whether they made it nice and smooth for them flying in, and they got a nice landing board.
Well, that's another thought. And then the third thought in that one is that they're trying to put propolis on there, so when the bees do come in, they're constantly in contact with it.
Okay.
What, they're wiping their feet off from different
something like that. And so nobody has actually ever, it's like washboarding. We're pretty certain how we know how washboarding works, but
I've not heard anything yet that nobody explains why they do it.
Yeah. What is washboarding? What's the purpose of that?
Well, it's country line dancing and beeline.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, Charlie, God bless you. You're probably right.
I always felt that it had something to do with the pretty much end of the flow.
Yeah. So I had a really old international harvester refrigerator, and I put a beehive on. I tipped it over and put it on its side, and I did that just because I could.
Man, that's an antique you got there.
Well, unfortunately, Charlie, I lost it in the fire. I had a shop fire, so it was sitting in my backyard. I thought, what the hell, I'm going to put a beehive on it. And what happened was, and I've got a picture of this.
Hey, Brian.
They actually would go out and washboard half of the, it was an area that was maybe about, yay wide by, they do the whole doggone thing.
They're in total sync.
Oh, they are. It's really interesting to watch. Me. You get out there and it's like, you're looking for Charlie and waiting to hear somebody say, well, I forget what's the command for square dancing, Charlie, or one of them.
What's that?
What's the command?
Right?
Do-si-do. There we go.
No.
Well, if you look at them really, really closely, though, they've got their their beak down there and they're hitting everything, but they seem to drop their abdomen a little bit. So there's another thought that what they're actually doing is cleaning off the entrance, but also dropping down pheromones.
There's that hive's pheromones all over the outside.
Yes. So that's the other thought of it, and
it is kind of weird because it's usually only one or two out of the bunch, that are doing it.
Yes, good point.
It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really, why are some doing it and some aren't? It could have something to do with what's it called in the back of their brain? It's called the maturity gland. I think it's literally called that, and that determines what the bees do for their job. So it might be some younger bees or older bees that are. That would be really interesting to see what the age of those bees are, Dan.
So it's like a rite of passage. They're graduating, and
Somebody a lot smarter than me's got to figure that one out.
Yeah, yeah,
it,
absolutely.
it only happens at a certain time of year, right? So I mean, there
Yeah.
has to be some kind of something in nature is making them doing that in their life.
That's why I always thought it kind of corresponded with like when there was nothing going on.
That's
The flow had ended, and it's just boom.
right.
You know, it's okay. Everybody get busy cleaning the house. You know.
And you know something, I've never really looked at it. And next time this summer, I'll take a look at it and see what what's going on as far as the flow is concerned.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. They're just bored and they wanted to. Yeah, you know something, bees screwing with you. William is yeah. Yeah. They never doubt that God and bees have a sense of humor.
Yeah, they're just it actually means nothing. It's just screwing with the beekeeper.
You just see them going in there and they've got their little laptop and they're looking at, it's like, okay, what beekeeper would screw with on YouTube today?
It's time. It's time.
Yeah. So it's a little bit of fun there. Charlie, did I understand you right that you've lost 2 hives in the last couple winters?
Somebody said that in the chat. Just keep on doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cute. But
that was Jason, I believe it was. Yeah. I've lost some. I mean, I got one out there right now. I got a nucleate. Basically, it was my fault. It was a 5/5 nuke. Population was good. It was building up well. And I hesitated to put any formic on it. I'm thinking to myself, this thing is just, it's just starting to take off. It was late in the season. Went ahead and did it, one strip, but I forgot to take the entrance out of the front, and that cooked.
You nuked them.
Now I got a hive. I got Queen still in there. She's got a small cluster of bees, about yay big. And I'm like, okay, I got sugar bricks for on there since I had fed them liquid sugar, in the fall. And I put sugar bricks on there a couple months ago just for emergency feed. And they're dwindling down. And are they going to make it? I don't think so. But
you killed the varroa.
That I observed is that you can put sugar bricks right on the frames, and there's the feed. But if you don't have a certain size cluster, the smaller they get, the harder it is to get up there to get the feed to bring it back down into the hive. Most of the frames right now are dry of any liquid feed. And all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It just it seems like if you don't have a certain size cluster, I don't care if you got the feed right on top of them, they're just not going to make it.
Yeah.
They don't have a bee power enough to be able to, she will only lay so many eggs if she only got so many bees to keep that brood warm and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the hard part, Charlie. Like if you're lifting a lid off on a 10 frame, and if the bees are not up top, it's kind of hard to find out where the cluster is. And if you don't put that sugar brick on top of the frames where they're at, they might not come up and get it. You might be 3 frames off,
but you got to have the power. You got to have enough bees to stay down here to cluster across the brood. And then you got to have those extra bees to be able to go up to gather the food. And that seems to be what I've learned so far. And, as far as looking at that type of thing.
Yeah, I've cracked the lid on some of my hives, and you would think that the cluster would be in the middle, but that's not always true.
Usually on the warm side.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Is there? Yes, Todd. The Spivak did her group down at the U of M Egg, just south of me here, did that, and they found out by introducing a Propolis envelope. Thank you, Charlie. It reduced the viral load in the hives by 90%, and I think it might have been actually a little bit more than that. So they know it helps. Now, is it specifically causing it? I would think so, just because of the powerful tree resin is crazy crap. You got to remember, when a tree cuts itself, it bleeds.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of the thing. So that has been documented, Todd, and Spivak's group was the ones that really kind of like nailed down the numbers. But otherwise, you can find studies from I think the earliest one I saw was 2009. Yeah, Brian, that would be a really good. But you know something, like I said, her group did a really good job of quantifying it. But there were many, many studies that were piggybacked off that. So prior to that, I should say, the High Maintenance Genetics Darwin Award that deserve that.
Darwin Award.
Yeah. William, you're one to talk about a Darwin Award there. What happened to your hair? No, he's got this beautiful. We give him another crap.
He's blessed, right?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's an amazing high. It's tight and high, and gray. So that's
I'm always a little envious of those guys. Like you get older and you still have a full head of hair. How does that happen?
My great grandpa was that way too. Yeah, I'm like, okay. It's in fact, I don't think he started turning gray until he was 80.
Look at it. Look at all four of us.
Mine slid off the top down onto my back.
Is that what it was, Dan? So we were up at we got this lovely bar on the other side of the lake. We're up there once, and some guy was talking about bald or whatever. And I said, the one thing about bald guys, they usually have more ambition. And then he turns around, looks at everybody, and takes his hat off. He's completely bald. And he says, "You ever seen a bald man in a soup line?" Everybody shut up. So, that was a wonderful thing. I gotta step away for just a second here. I'll let. Well,
Yeah.
Tilly isn't going to entertain you. Tilly, go get a mouse. I'll be right back, guys.
That cat is comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh,
Funny.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah, we'll be pulling our hair out before we know it. What's left of it.
Yeah, this is like the worst part of the year, right? Well, I don't know, maybe not the worst, but it's one of the worst parts of the year because you're like at the starting line and you're waiting for the gun to go off. But
I'm really holding back putting any type of pollen in the hives. I'm really going to wait until after Valentine's Day and see what the weather what it's looking like past that, before I decide to do any of that. You putting anything in yours, Charlie?
as far as pollen goes,
Yeah.
I bought some pollen out at Nobby, and I took, I don't know, I guess they're 1 pound pads, about yay long. And I cut them up into quarters, and I put some in my nukes and 2 of my 10 framers a couple weeks ago when it was warm, and just to see what they would do with it. And the last time I looked in one of them, they didn't really do anything with it.
Yeah.
And now one thing I've noticed last year was when I got around to be, I'll say July, August area, where I'll say, usually it's hot and dry, then there isn't really much of a pollen flow. Watch your drink there, Mike. He's getting ready to push it off.
Could have gone your head.
That would definitely be something. The cat turns around and knocks it off.
And that's cat typical too, right?
Anyway,
Oh man.
it seemed like they took the pollen then better than they did in the early spring. And it's like we've been talking here tonight. Here we got pollen coming in. It's only February. Usually March is when I see the natural stuff really coming in, and it's no sense in even trying to feed any, substitute.
Yeah.
I figured I'd put those in there to see what they would do. And I haven't really seen them do a whole lot.
It kind of tells me that they're not in demand for it. So, they're not. That to me would indicate they're not.
You got to remember that
heavy.
they did store pollen in their hive. I mean, there are frames of pollen in your hive somewhere.
From
Yeah.
last year, yes. Yep, yeah.
It does lose its food value over time.
Yeah.
That's why you see a lot of bees that, when they'll bring natural in, it's just like everything else. Which is better, frozen food or fresh?
Yeah. Leftovers or some fresh cooking.
So it's the same thing with the bees, and then it is a noted fact that pollen over a period of time does lose its nutritional value
Yeah.
and all that. Now, it used to be a couple of years back, I put out a lot of pollen powder, and I'd get pollen bound. I'm like, okay.
Oh yeah, that gets interesting.
You're losing a lot of your good open comb for brewing.
Filled
So-
with pollen. Sub.
So I kind of
That's a good point.
stopped putting a lot of the powder out and use it more for a guidance of what the bees need. I started using pollen patties. Now, one year we had really early warm weather in, let's say, February. It was really, really unusual. And I went through like 40 pounds of pollen patties, and I had all kinds of bees. And then it got cold later on.
I think I remember that. I didn't. That was what, 3 years ago?
3 years ago, at least.
Yeah, because I didn't get any fruit that year off of my fruit trees. I got fruit trees in my backyard.
But
because
around here,
everything bloomed, and then we had the real cold week after that. Went into the
Oh,
20s. Lost every blossom.
yeah.
So yeah.
So around here, Maryland has mostly been known for its high pollen, accessibility for the bees. And a lot of folks, a lot of older guys, he said, I sell pollen patties, but he said, I don't never put them on my hive.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll sell one to you, but I don't use it.
Yeah, am I a millionaire? And how much does all this stuff cost? Well, the pollen patties, I bought 20 pounds at Nobby for $36.
That's a pretty good price.
You know,
They got apis in them, or
yeah.
Yeah.
It's got
And
apis.
I cut back on my normal pollen patties. I think I still have a tub of patties, like a 40-pound. So I got a 40-pound box of patties from Man Lake from a buddy of mine 2 years ago, and I got half of it left.
yeah.
I don't use them that much at all. It's just a little. I'll cut like a quarter, like you were saying, Charlie. Cut it in quarters, and just throw it in there just to get them over the hump
See what they'll do.
until some natural pollen comes in. But what I did do is I used tongs. So I lifted up the lid, grabbed the pollen patty, put it in there, put it down, and they jumped on it immediately.
Hey,
What time
good
of
night.
year was that?
Last week.
Oh, last week.
Yep.
Yeah, good night, Morgan. I don't remember dating pollen patty in the 70s.
But that stuff don't get bad, right? Are you
Brian.
it'll last forever? Or
What's that, pollen? I think it gets old after a while.
the pollen patties? You put it in your freezer. Like what's?
Oh,
Oh, you could, yeah.
different.
I don't know. I had Man Lake and I got rid of them, and I tried 10 pounds of the uh, global patty with apis in it last year. And I was going to get another, and I used it all, the 10 pounds, and I was going to get, and I, like I said, I used it more so in the summertime. And that's why I hadn't went and got 20 pounds this year. But I don't know, I'm watching to see how the bees react to it and when they react to it. And I'm thinking to myself that maybe, maybe I just wait, like you say, like Norman says, wasting my money.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that direct honey, is Norman? Like,
You wind up feeding the possums with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You throw it in the woods.
Brian, I I think we're going to do the same thing. That's really
Yeah. Yep.
but and William dry cut just made the observation he doesn't put any on there because he has so much pollen in there and so on. And yeah, it's what's my line? Beekeeping is regional.
Always. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
for you.
it's like right now, February 14th is coming up next week. And down in Georgia, they're going to start, that's the date for them to start grafting.
Yeah. Well,
it's not
Crazy.
Bruce just put out a video. His one of his hives swarmed, right?
Right. So, I
Where
mean,
is he?
yeah.
Louisiana.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Rodney was teasing us with that too. He says swarm season is close by. I'm like, screw you.
Yeah, or Alabama. Alabama, sorry. He's a big Alabama.
Either way.
Yeah. That area.
They're in the deep South, and, their timeline is completely different than ours.
Swarm
Yeah.
season already.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so Russell Koopman, he found a guy, and I absolutely can't remember the channel's name, but I think he's Slavic, and he's in the United States now, and he makes his own fondant patties. And what he's doing is just taking the regular sugar and running it through a fine mill. He gets it down to I think 300 microns, and then he mixes it with honey. And I'm like, okay, so Charlie, you've mentioned that you haven't seen any great changes with using Hive Live fondant. People like,
I've never used any Hive Life fondant.
well, I think some other people are kind of mentioning the whole thing, but what I was thinking about,
I have used fondant
Yeah.
where I bought it in a 50-pound block.
yeah,
More so for emergency thing, but I found the problem with that is trying to cut it and prep it, and what a mess.
You ain't kidding. I went through 100 pounds of that this year. What a
Man,
pain in
what
the
a
ass.
total,
Never do it again.
Never do it
yeah.
again.
Thank you, Mark.
And there's the B Lab for Marva Spivak, the research and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Bob provided. But let me put it to you this way. There's a lot of folks out there that are emergency feeding. They're using sugar bricks. They're using fondant, or something like that, If it's warm enough, if your bees are flying, they can take liquid as long as they're flying. I've heard people tell me that, master beekeepers and stuff like that. But I feed my hives in the fall, and I feed them to the point where they will not take any more. They just, there might be a gallon of food up on top in the feeder, and it'll sit there for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And I was just reading Norman's comment. And and then I'll take that hive will quit feeding. Well, the next hive next door to it, let's say, is still sucking it down. I'll take the feeder off of that hive, the one that isn't feeding anymore, and pour it into the one that it is, or even just swap the feeders and then close that hive down. And I find that my hives have plenty of food. They get through the spring without any problems. And maybe my nukes might go a little bit light on me if I don't watch it. But most of the time, if I feed them hard and feed them with the sugar water, I don't have to worry about the fondant and all these
Yeah,
other emergency feeding. Now, I have used sugar bricks where I've made them up myself. And, you take a cup of water and 10 pounds of sugar and a tablespoon of white vinegar. They give it acidotic. Mix it up with one of those paint mixers on a big grill, and I put it in a sheet cake pan, roll it down with a rolling pin, and then score it with a butter knife into squares, and then
I
let it
can't believe
dry.
more people don't score that, Charlie. Great point.
Hmm?
I can't believe more people don't score those blocks like that.
Yeah, you want to score them. You want to take that sheet cake pan and kind of turn it into a Hershey's chocolate bar where you have the areas where you break it.
Yep.
You score it down to where you got like a 4x6 piece of square of candy board, and it's going to be about a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch thick. And then you can take your pancake turner or a knife or something and pop one up. Once you get the one popped up, the rest of them will pop up in little squares.
Yep.
And then you just, I usually have about an inch and a half shim on the boxes I want to put it on. And I just put that in there and put the inner cover and the telly cover on top of that. And, it's sealed back up nice and tight. And that's how I feed them if I have to do that. So far, I mean, the one thing that's different for me is that we had the spotted lanternfly come here 2 years ago. And the spotted lanternfly, late July into August, that honey comes in. Now, I've already taken my nice spring honey off. I leave that honey on. They have something to eat through the heat of the summer. And then come fall, that honey box, that third box will be probably 60 pounds of lanternfly honey if they really pack it in good. And then I'll put the top high feeder on, and they'll take this year, especially, they took an additional 7 gallons of sugar water on top of what the honey, a lot of new beekeepers will come in and they'll pick up that top box, say, "Oh, I got 60 pounds of honey here or more. I don't need to feed them." But and that's where they get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they need more than that. They needed to go down in there.
Yeah. Absolutely. Charlie, I did something just a little bit different this year, and I did some test batches. And I took, so I was making in 10-pound batches of the sugar blocks. And I actually took Apogard, like a couple of teaspoons of Apogard, and mixed in with it.
I did the same thing.
Did you really? Oh, thank
Yeah.
you so much. I'm not the only crazy one.
Well, I beat mine into bread loaf pans. I do like little 2-pound bricks.
Okay.
That's all. I'll mix it up like Charlie said. Instead of spreading it out thin, I'll beat it into an inch and a half thick brick.
Yeah.
And I'll make a bunch of them and let them dry. But pretty much same recipe though.
Well, wait a second. So did you put some thymol in it?
Just the Hive Alive.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like I was doing 25-pound a batch of 25 pounds.
Yeah.
And I'd use a quart of water and mix a little bit of vinegar in with the water, a little bit of Hive Alive in with the water, just in a quart. And that's what I would use to pour on my sugar. And then I got a big tote and I mix it with my fingers.
Wonderful.
And then scoop it out.
What you put, what it was, Aprogard in?
I literally did.
Oh, I said Apogard. Jesus Christ. Not Apogard. You said thymol. Put me on a different direction.
Yeah,
Hive Alive.
sorry about that.
Hive Alive.
Yeah, no. So I literally did that, Charlie. I took in a 10-pound batch. I put 2 teaspoons in. And what's interesting is that the hives that I put those blocks on don't seem to have as much poop at the entrance when they're going out and evacuating. So
All right,
it's
so you're mixing up. Run this by me again. You got sugar. You got some tablespoons of Hive Alive.
nope, Apogard,
Oh, you used Apogard.
literally
I
Apogard.
I used Hive Alive, not Apogard.
Well, okay, so I didn't. And here's the thing, though, Dan. I didn't have any Hive Alive, but what I did have is big tubs of Apogard, and I'm like, well, the bees will chew on it anyway, so I put it in there.
Well, there's
And yeah,
isn't there sugar substance in it?
say
I've never
again.
tasted it. Is there sugar in Apogard? I don't know what's
No.
mixed in with the gel.
No, I don't think there's any sugar in there. I've the limited experience I've had, unfortunately, tasting it, it didn't taste sweet at all.
Yeah. So Mike, you're making bricks and you're putting Apogard in it, and Dan, you're making bricks and you're putting Hive Alive in it.
Right.
Two different. Yeah, they're both.
Both got,
The
both
thing
got
of it is, if you
thymol.
put Apogard in there, which is thymol, you might. It's like Bob says there. It sounds like an appy tablet to me.
Yeah, exactly, Bob. Yeah, Russell made that observation too.
Oh, I got plenty of thymol. If you need that.
I love it. Good for you. By the way, Dan, before I forget here, what's your dog?
Oh, that's a mini golden doodle.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I love those things. Yeah, so there's no sugar in Apogard. I mean, unfortunately, when I tasted, Brian made the observation, no, that doesn't taste at all like that. And I imagine it's probably one of the reasons they wouldn't put in there so it can actually, so the bees aren't ingesting it. They're moving it around. They'll pick it up and carry it rather than, I don't know. I don't know. But what I did find is that it goes from there. And I think we're going to be finding more and more uses of thymol now that we've kind of got it quantified a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of up there with Bob Binney. Do you guys remember what towels they put in there? Was it for European or American fall brood? I think it was European. I don't remember.
What was it?
Yeah, he's putting the strips in there, and one of them was a conifer.
Oh, camphor.
Yeah, camphor oil and so on.
Yeah.
And the beauty of all this, I mean, absolutely the beauty of all this is that I don't think insects ever develop a resistance to natural acids.
Let's
So,
hope not.
yeah. Oh boy, if it does, that'd get a little out there. Dave, Dave Lewis, what are you confused about there? Jump in, go for it. These things.
Now, let me ask you guys something. Do you guys use Apogard as far as a straight mite treatment?
Yeah.
And if you do, when do you use it?
August.
Right. Yeah, like in the dearth, right after
After supers come off.
after yeah.
In July? July?
It depends. If I would use it if I didn't have supers on in July. But sometimes I got some late supers. July is usually when I pretty much get everything off.
After you pull the
And
supers.
Late July and then August everything's done.
Well, what I'm getting at is you got a heat issue there. I know it can go up to a certain height, but
Yeah, I think it's 105, isn't it?
huh?
I think it's 105, isn't it?
It is, but let's face it. I mean, if you listen to Bob Binney, if it's up beyond 90 degrees, he doesn't use it.
Yeah, I won't do a 50 mil. I'll do a 25 mil if it's real hot.
If it's real hot and humid, do you have any queen issues with 25 mils per week?
No, because I'm doing 4 treatments of it, and they something at 25 mil, they don't even seem phased.
I've heard like 33 mil, or 30 to 33, 3 treatments, doing it that way. I've got a tub of it and I'm just a little bit concerned.
I feel that way about the formic. I'm leery of formic acid. I'm afraid of burning a queen with it.
I might have something to help you there. So there was a gal who was a queen breeder down in Iowa, and I think she's maybe about 3 hours south of me. But she does single pad treatments,
Mhm.
And what I found is that, 2 winters ago, for my final treatments, I was actually putting 3 pads down 10 days apart. And those mites were pretty much gone by the end of the year. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
One pad at a time for
Yeah, only 1 pad at a time. Yep.
And
So
for-
you're just killing the mites that are in the cells.
for 3 weeks.
Yeah, yeah. But she only does it for 2. I had extra pads, so I thought, why not?
What am I going to keep this open pad for? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that.
And what time of year was that, Mike? August.
I did that for kind of a wrap up, and that was, I'd have to go back and check. I know it was after I pulled the honey supers, and typically I like to put the treatments on immediately after I pull the honey supers. That's it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and our issue is just like peak summer,
Yeah. Charlie, you use Formic?
Yeah, I do. I do it in September though.
Oh, you do it when it's cooler.
See, this is the problem. Apricot, if you listen to Bob Benny, and then Brian from Flower Street, will shut your queen down in the egg laying process.
Mhm.
Well, in September, you don't want that to happen. You're trying to build up for the winter.
Right.
So
That I wouldn't mind
you want
happening
to
in
use
August.
Apricot in July to August area, and then hit them. My treatment program starts at, let's say, 3rd week in July. I'll put in Apricot because of the heat, and then that comes out in September. Then I will put in Formic Pro. Is 75 degrees, let's say, low humidity. That goes in for 2 weeks. That comes out. I start feeding and I should be done feeding by the 15th of October. Fill them up completely, and then the feeders come off. And then after that, I'll try to do oxalic acid vapor twice a month all the way through until March.
Mm.
Now, I just did a vapor treatment. Let's see, it was November, December. I seen a few mites, 10 mites, 20 mites, 30 mites on the drop board. And then it's been several months here since then. I've did, multiple treatments per month, at least 1 to 2 treatments per month. I just did one last Saturday, I guess it was. I checked this past Wednesday during the day. I found one hive. I think I counted 3 mites on the drop board, and all the rest of the nukes were zeros.
Nice.
So I found that the year prior to that, 22, I had did Formic somewhere around August because it was a cool spell that we got. Then I did Apricot. And then I did oxalate. Well, then those nukes that I was hitting, there was a lot of mite drops in them. It took me 2 or 3 turns to get that under control. And this year I did the Apricot first and then the Formic later. And now I have basically 0 mite drop.
well, tell them what your mite count was.
Huh?
Tell them
Well,
what your
I had the inspector come in and do the National Honeybee Survey in 22. And the paperwork that I got back, they did. I think they pulled 1,100 bees in the sampling, and my mite load was a 0.2.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to make him say that number.
That's not a mite load.
That's
Well,
a
a 1.0 is good. So I'm better than good. So I called, actually the inspector was the teacher for the class tonight. She teaches for us. And I'll see her tomorrow at this meeting. And I had also had her on as a Zoom at another club meeting. And she actually receives money so she can pay her inspectors and stuff by doing these tests for this, the national survey people. So I said, well, sign me up again. they didn't do it this past year, so let me do it again this year, so I can continue on to see how my mite situation is. So I'm looking at her right now. As far as I'm concerned, I don't think I really need to do any more oxalic
Nah.
acid,
Oh, Brian.
but I might.
I think you got it dialed in, Charlie.
Yeah, that's a good program.
No.
Works for you.
I wanted to try to do a brood break right after harvest. Trap the queen for 21 days, blast them with some OA after that, and then pretty much reset. I would think, but
What was quite interesting is that I watched Ashby from Ashby Miller's Ashby Farms down in North Raleigh, and he's he talked about doing the same thing I'm doing. Is we're basically treating our hives after the honey flow, basically 8 or 9 months out of the year, continuously throughout the winter.
yeah,
Because he had something like he lost something like 50 some hives out of 600 or something like that. It was a lot.
I just nervous about applying formic acid in September and killing off your queen, and you're done. You're toast.
Yeah. Okay. So any of the treatments you're using, I think the exception might be oxalic acid.
I mean, did I say oxalicas? I meant formic.
No. I was agreeing with you. I think any of the acids except for oxalic, you have to not only watch the temperature but also the humidity. And I think Bob Binney found that out using Randy Oliver's recipe in Georgia, and he lost 200 hives, 200 test hives.
Yes.
And I think what was going on was it was the humidity, because they couldn't quite figure it out because the temperature seemed to be in the right range. But where Randy is, I think it's
dry.
Very, very,
Dry.
very.
Yeah.
Formic and humidity, maybe it just settles and sits,
That might be a really good point. Formic it's like acetic acid, ACETIC, which is basically the acid that's in vinegar. So if you want to fumigate your hives, at the end of the year, you're worried about any kind of bacteria, European fall brood, whatever. You seal them up and you put a tray of that acid up on top and you bring them up to about 90 degrees, and that acid's heavier than air, so it sinks down. I'm thinking formic might be the same thing. I don't know. And how far down does it go? I've always tried to put the single pads as close to the center of the brood as I can.
Yeah.
But before I forget here, depending upon how many hives you got and whatnot, it is far cheaper to go out and spend $135 on a tub of the Apogard than it is to, get these.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, the price. And the good news,
absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. So the good news is if you keep in some kind of cool, dry place, that stuff will stay for 3 years without any problem.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm a community.
Well, I think what I'm going to try to do maybe this year is I'm going to go with the 25 gram method. Now I've seen some videos where they put the 25 grams in, and within a day or two, the bees have completely taken that out of the hive.
Yeah, and that kind of makes me a little nervous, but it varies so much from hive to hive too, the way they react to it.
I didn't have any problem with it. I mean, not the 25s. It didn't seem to shut the queens down at a 25. Maybe at a 50 it would have, but not at a 25.
Well, I think Craig Branch used to use quite a bit of that, and he was doing 25. Now he's down in, I think, South Carolina, and or either North Carolina or South Carolina, where there's a lot of hot heat and humidity and stuff like that.
That's the biggest friggin' problem is every time you want to treat, it's hot and humid.
Yeah.
Well, I think the biggest thing is, I keep talking about it on here, and it's maybe sounds like a broken record, but
no,
I think that humidity, especially in your acid base mite treatments, it plays a bigger effect against your bees than what these manufacturers. They don't even say nothing about it on the packaging. but I think
Yeah.
it really plays a huge effect of that.
Yeah.
You know, people talked about Formic Pro, and they'll say, well, you know, it killed my queens. I said, there was the club up the road here. Oh, we put Formic Pro on, and I'm like, they were on a chat, you know, and I'm like, well, I don't know where you guys live. I know you only live an hour north of me, or an hour and a half at the most. I
Yeah.
said, wasn't it humid? You know,
Yeah.
wasn't it this? Wasn't it that? Well, yeah. And then they come back 2 weeks later, and they've got 30 queens that are dead. Because
Yeah, but and then Charlie, right? It's not really the Formic Pro that's killing the queen. It makes her run around crazy, right? And then
I don't know about that.
the bees
Yeah,
kill
that's
her.
what happens.
The bees kill her, not the Formic Pro.
Yeah. She runs erratic, and the bees don't like that, and they ball her.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Hey, Todd, sorry for bouncing stuff back and forth there. I completely forgot about the guy. Hey,
Brad.
Bob, and
Hey, everybody.
yeah.
Would you guys just come from the diner together?
Yeah, we were drinking in the club.
In the back green, they were in the green room.
We were in Club StreamYard.
The green room.
Yeah, it's
So-
a total coincidence.
Jack, we heard you talking about brood breaks.
Yes,
The man at the bottom of the screen
Brad.
has the best brood break method.
I can't get the damn
Yeah.
angle right. I can't get the angle right.
It's not my idea.
Nice.
He won't claim the idea, but most people don't think about it in this way. So I'm going to let him explain because he does a much better way of doing it than I do. So,
Okay.
and we
Thanks,
give
buddy.
Charlie a pee break at the
Okay.
same time.
Yeah, we're
Sorry.
He's like, "Thank
Oh,
God I
here's
can
the
go
talk.
now."
Here's the talk. Okay, if you look on the National Honey Show and you find a guy by the name of and I can't ever remember how to say his last name. Ralph is his first name.
Bookler.
Brookler, I think. Brookler.
Bookler. Ralph Bookler.
And Bookler. That's right. There's no R. And he has Varroa control video. There's a lot of different things he talks about in that video, but one of them is removing the brood. And I've just given away the punchline. However, I'll back up here a bit. And I just wanted to give credit where credit is due because it wasn't my idea. People want to do brood break. Well, why do you want to do brood break? Typically, it's for Varroa control because they all know the brood break is good for Varroa population, not for the Varroa, but for the bees and us. And so what you're doing is you're taking that queen. Most people, they want to take the queen out or they want to cage the queen for a period of time. And I know some people want to do it for the entire 3 weeks. So essentially what you've done is you've removed 3 weeks worth of brood by caging that queen. And it takes you 3 weeks to do it. And you have to stop that queen from laying for 3 weeks. I don't personally believe it's a good idea to stop a queen laying because you know there are physiological changes when you stop a queen laying. They shriek up and everything. So there's definitely some things go on. And I believe that it could be a little bit stressful on that queen. I think that's part of the problem with queens that
see
you
where you're
buy
going.
and they're shipped somewhere else. So, well, yeah, I gave it away. So if you take the brood out, if you just enter the hive, you don't even have to really find the queen if you shake all the bees off and you remove all the brood, replace with drawn comb. Now what you've done is you've not removed the next 3 weeks of brood. You've removed the last 3 weeks of brood. Okay? You have an instant brood break. And your queen doesn't ever stop laying. She can go right back to work as soon as you leave. And I believe that's a really good way to instigate a brood break. You don't need special queen cages, and you don't need to go in there twice. Cage the queen, go and release the queen, that kind of stuff. So I think that's a really good way to do that. And you know, it makes sense to me, but I don't just rely on me. The fact that Ralph talked about that made me think, okay, that's a bona fide idea. And he said it's effective. And he also said, you know, you'd be surprised what a little effect it has on the population of the colony. I actually did a couple of those this year for a different reason. It was a little bit earlier on though, and the colonies that I did, yeah, they turned out just fine.
Total
Wow,
brood removal.
that's so cool. It's doing the same thing, but in a totally different way.
One visit,
Yep.
right? You can do it in 5 minutes per hive.
Yeah.
What do you do with the 3 frames you take out?
Kill them.
That's a good question.
Give
What
them
do you
to
do
the
with them?
chickens.
Well,
You can put them in
I
a
don't
brood
know.
collector.
we were talking about formic acid and how it kind of be hard on queens. Why not make up some queenless splits and hit them with formic acid, and then when they're done being treated, introduce some
Yeah.
queens?
Mhm.
Just an idea.
That makes perfect
could-
sense, sir.
You could freeze it. You could. It's all going to be emerged in 12 days, so you could put it in a queenless split, let it emerge, and then once there's no more sealed brood, blast it with oxalic acid vapor.
Why couldn't you take those brood frames out, treat them, and use it as a starter finisher for your queen cells?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those row are going to hatch, and they're going to not know what the hell to do.
Yeah, they're all phoretic, and
One good shot.
so
and
and
they're
if you took all the brood out, and I'm just thinking out loud here, if you took all the brood out, and then I'd say let that colony settle in for a couple of days, go back to that colony in 6 days or less, and then blast that with oxalic acid vapor, you've still got all of your mites or phoretic.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a good one, Brad. Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Now,
give
Mike,
them a
you were
1-2
saying
and do it at night.
Everybody's wheels are turning.
Mike, you were going to ask me a question.
How can I
right.
implement that? That's what everybody's thinking, right?
All right. The Sparky 36 wants to know what do you do with the 3 frames that you take out?
That's exactly what we just talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a
I
delay.
read it
We'll
out
talk about that.
Make a split. Put them in a brood
Oh,
collector.
Yeah, that was a couple of
So
minutes
Brad,
ago. So
Brad kind of touched on this, and you guys were talking about formic acid. I had a conversation with a commercial guy out here in California who runs about 2,500 colonies, and he's a big almond pollinator guy. And he and his sons, they buy pallets of formic pro. And what they do is they get their flatbed truck and they forklift a big, long lay-down freezer with a generator on the back of their truck. They put all the formic pads in that truck or in the freezer and then let them freeze overnight or a day or so. And then they will drive out to the yards and apply those pads.
Frozen?
The reason why is because when you freeze formic acid, the off-gassing isn't as harsh. It's not a blast. So you control the flash that happens in the hive. It goes over, I think he thinks it was like 1 to 2 days where it's kind of a low dose, and then it picks up. Well, by then, all the smells in the hive have been adjusted. The queen is not as affected as if you just threw it in there, warm, and it killed, not killed, but it just permeated the hive. So that's why he does that. And he sees great results. And he said he still has a queen here and there that he loses, but for the most part, he gets great results. Now, that is an off-label use of Formic Pro.
Yeah.
There, you can wait. Okay. So let me speak about studies and commercial beekeepers. They don't wait for studies to come out. They do their studies in the fields themselves. If they waited, all their bees would be dead. And sorry, my camera froze. It's something to look at now. everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and I think at least the way I operate, I want to think about what's best for my bees, what's best for my operation, what's best for my bee. Do I want to wait for a study to be conducted over 3-5 years? Well, in 3 to 5 years, that might not be my problem anymore. There might be, sorry, there might be something that's coming down the road that's already fixed that problem. But right now, here in the moment, this is what I have to do, especially if I'm a commercial guy and I'm trying to make a living and I'm trying to feed my family. I've got to do what's right now. Well, not right, but you know what I'm saying. I got to do what's right for me right now.
Yeah.
So that's where he
David
came up
Lewis
with this
Family
idea.
Homestead commented there. Is the assumption here that losing the queen might mean that the queen was weak? I recently saw a Randy Oliver presentation, and that's actually one of the things he said. He says, people, and on Randy Talks, he says, people talk about killing the queen with formic acid. He said that's fine because they're crappy queen anyway. He said, just kind of weeds out the.
I guess that's a good way
I'm pretty
to
sure
do it.
that's what he said. He said it just weeds out the bad ones. So I don't know. It could be a positive but if you go into it thinking, okay, 20% of my queens are going to be kind of crappy queens, and so I got to go into this expecting to come out of it with 20% new queens. Maybe that's okay.
The problem with that is the worry is if you're treating in September, nobody wants to lose a queen in September.
No, you don't. You don't. So it's
Well,
all you got to think about all those things.
I see Norman's comment here. He says, I'm thinking out loud. I may not be correct, but host Charlie has a very good track record of survivability. And he does. And I was putting my mind to this earlier, actually before Charlie even went on the stream. And I was trying to quantify why I'm losing colonies, right? And this is a lot of people that I talked to. We're all in that same mode of growth. We're all trying to grow colonies, right? And make splits and get more colonies. Charlie, on the other hand, he does have a good mite treatment program, but he's also not expanding. He is now maintaining. So when he gets
maintaining,
he's thinking from that strong colony, and he's buffering his losses by improving the weaker colony with brood. Where I would look at a colony and be like, wow, this is a great colony. I'm going to split it and make a new colony, a new number. And Charlie might look at that colony and say, you know what? I've got extra brood in here. This one's a little bit lacking over here. And he takes it from the stronger colony and equalizes it with his weaker colony. So he's bolstering his weak.
What would Keith Delaplane say about that, moving that brood around?
I don't know.
That's a good thing. Because it increases the diversity in those colonies.
Alleles.
Right? And anytime you can increase diversity, improve diversity, is a good thing, apparently. So I don't know if there are limitations.
One thing that Brad talked about, which I sort of, in a roundabout way, tried to implement it this past summer, was to make sure all my queens were about the same age. And if they're 2 years old, get rid of them, put a new one in. Because if she's the third year, she might go through that third summer, but she'll fail during the winter time trying to get through that winter area.
Yeah,
supposedly what, 25% a year? They lose 25% of their laying capacity each year.
Oh, I don't know about that.
We don't just sit around and drink.
Not just.
Not just.
Yeah, we talk too.
You know, Charlie, it's funny you say that. I just saw Corey Stevens put out a video, and one of his things he was saying is like, any problem can be fixed by requeening.
Yeah, now this is something also that Brian said, and this is what I also do. I raise nukes, I raise honey production hives. I raise my own queens. That's the key of self-sustainability right there, raising your own queens.
Yep, there you go.
Learn that skill
Agreed.
as fast as you can. And I sell my nukes to new beekeepers every year, which are overwinter queens that go through this winter, and then I replace those queens. So those hives are fresh queens that go through the next winter, are brand new queens and everything.
Yeah.
So then I also keep a certain amount of them nukes for myself as insurance hives. Like last year, I painted some queens. I think they were old queens. They died on me, or they were killed or whatever. But I had nukes waiting in the wings with queens, and I papered them queens right in there and kept those honey production hives up and running. It was right in the middle of the honey season. I was sweating as far as getting my honey production out, but I did all right.
But that's kind of the goal, though. If you're going to lose colonies, the goal is to lose the nukes prior to winter, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Take your losses in the fall.
Yeah, or culling them. Shake them out, cull them. I guess
Take your spring losses in the fall.
Yep. Really well put. The queen is running out of gas, and the queen to be new to increase market.
What are we reading?
Brian's comment there. Todd, I remember what the question I had for Todd was. I was just wondering, the hives that he had the losses on. Did you ever figure out, why you think those things went?
I think the majority of them ran out of gas, like what Brian's saying. I think it was a mating issue. I'm not gonna say I don't think it was mites. I think some of them were mites, but for the most part, from what I could see in the hive, what was left, there was no brood, there were no eggs, there was no queen. It's either they killed the queen because they thought she was weak, or she died off somehow, and there were no more eggs or no more brood to,
And Todd and I have a little bit of a different issue than, everybody else on the screen, is that we don't get a definitive winter.
Nope.
So she may, at the end of the honey flow, she may be rocking, and she may have a big cluster, and then it get a few cold nights, and all of a sudden you come back in the spring and she's not doing right.
So it was just said, take your losses in the fall. Well, Bob and I can't always do that because our queens don't run out of gas until the middle of winter, right? In December. And so, what do you do then? You don't know that you have that problem until you.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, forget. You guys have a totally different problem down there than we do.
Yeah, but my question is, how old are those queens?
All mine are first-year queens. I grafted them this year.
Mine were up to 2
years
years
old. Can you guys successfully combine in the winter?
I probably could.
I couldn't. I don't think I could.
I got a mix of 1 and 2s.
Well, no, I take that back. I've
That's
combined
possible.
in the winter.
To kind of keep an eye
combined.
on them, and the ones that are dwindling, just kind of pinch that and combine with something healthy. I don't know. I'm spitballing here with a climate that's totally different than mine.
Like a lot of these losses that I saw, there was a baseball, softball size of bees left. I just shook them out in front of another hive. Let them find their way into somewhere else.
Best tip for a first-time grafter: be like Mite, just do it. Just do it.
Just do it.
Grafting, the act of grafting, the act of picking that thing up, in my opinion, is something you can't teach. It's something you have to do, and you have to figure it out. The technique that you use, how you pick that up. There's a lot about it you can learn, but in actually doing it and being successful with that act of picking that thing up and laying it in that cup,
and
identifying
it too.
And I agree.
And Randy has a really good video on that too. He has a lot of really good tips on how to do that.
I agree with Charlie. The most difficult part about grafting is getting your cell builder set up correctly.
Yeah.
You get that done.
That's the actual work for sure.
How do y'all feel about corkboarding?
And another thing is, a tip on grafting is is the age of the larvae. The best way I can explain that is that if you are in the apiary and you pull a frame up and you see the eggs, and then right below that you see jelly, but you can't see anything floating in the jelly. That's where you want to
That's
grab,
perfect.
because when you put your magnification unit on, then you'll see the right age larvae in there. Barely see them, and then you can and you take the Chinese grafting tool, and the first thing you want to do is take your thumb like that, and you want to bring that grafting tool up with that tip on there, and if it hits your thumbnail and it curves real easy, like it's just flexible just right. If it goes down there and it hits and it doesn't want to curve across your fingernail, it's too thick. It needs to be thinned down a little bit.
There's a great video on that little bits of honeybees. Joe May does on that.
Yeah.
Joe takes that thing apart and sands it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
Awesome.
you want to look for a comma and not a C.
You want to look
Yeah,
for, like, I call it a crescent moon.
Something more like that, not so much like that.
Yeah.
Something more like that.
Yeah, a sliver crescent moon type.
But then take that tool and slide that tongue down the side wall and let it hit the bottom, and it'll go across the bottom. And of course, if it's a C or a comma, you want to come in from the
back side of it.
From the back side, from the back of the C part. Come
Right.
across and let it slide around, and then kind of lift that up, and it'll be on your tip. And then when you put it in the cup, I always put the tip down on the flat of the cup, and then I'm holding the grafting tool like a pen, just like a big pen, with pushing the plunger right here like that. I'm picking that tongue up and pushing the plunger all at the same time. So by the time the tip gets to the bottom of that cup, then the plunger should be scooting that larvae right off all about the same time, all kind of in one motion. And that's that's the best way you can describe it. And it's like Brad says, now you just have to do it. It's like riding a bicycle. Practice. If you
say do it till you get it right, and then keep doing it till you can't get it wrong.
Right.
Right.
So you do, let's say, 30 cells, and if you can get 5 that are accepted, that's 5 more queens that you didn't have.
That's
absolutely. If you get a 40% take or a 10% take, that's great, because you got queens coming.
That's right. I mean, the 5 that you got that are accepted, and they're going to draw the cocoon down and cap it off. That's 5 that you didn't have before.
We heard it here first. Charlie said, give them just the tip.
Yep.
But the biggest thing is
even Doug laughed at that one.
but like I've said, about, for me, my problem right now is learning how to set up a cell builder efficiently and understanding. I've got 2 of them, 2 different styles of doing it. I've been doing it nuke, and it's totally queenless. And what I really need to do is pull brood up above a queen excluder, cap brood, fully cap brood, and put those in that box, and then come back and pull some more brood up with bees on it and shake them bees into that box, because they're all going to be nurse bees.
Wouldn't one of your Day Maries be a good plan to do it? That top box when you do a Day Marie, it's just full of brood and nurse bees.
That's right. That's what I'm getting at. I mean, I'm talking about, I might pull those bees and brood off of my nukes, because my nukes build up so strong. I need to push them back so they don't swarm on me. And then the big thing was, I talked to one of my friends who does it. And I said, how do you, he said, you got to start, let's say 10 days in advance to set up that nuke. So when that cat brood, which it should be real dark brown, it should be hatched by that time when you're about ready to use it and put the grafting frame in.
Jeremy asked, what temperatures do you need to keep them in while you graft? Hotter than you want to be in. I had limited success. Well, I had poor success until I started grafting in the cab of my truck. I have a little half-ton truck I put in my apiary and I graft in there. Oh, it's warm in there. It is very warm in there. I keep
Must
a
be
little bucket
heavy.
of water, a couple of claws in the water so that I can cover the cells, cover the grafting cups after I graft, keep them humid. Another tip I picked up in Randy's video is he has a little mister, and what he does is it's hard to demonstrate, but he'll just take the cups, put the cups in his grafting bar, and then he'll just mist over top of them to get just some very light dots of moisture in the cups. And he's using distilled water. And this mister that he uses, that's exactly what it's called. You can get that on Amazon. And I think it's for people to, give themselves a little bit of mist of cool water in a hot day or something like that. But that's Randy's starter finisher. That's another way I really, really like. I don't use it for myself, but if you're looking at doing one round of grafting, it's beautiful because all you do is you take a nice strong double, you take the top off it, take the second box off it. You want to make sure the queen is in the bottom. Put that second box on its own bottom board. You may want to shake in a bunch of bees in there, and then that's your cell builder. It'll be a nice strong cell builder with a lot of nurse bees in it already. And I think that's part of the complications people find when you say, well, you should graft some queens. And well, I couldn't do that because they watch videos that are made by people who graft for a month. They do, Michael Palmer doing round after round after round. They watch Ian and round after round after round after round, and even Bob Binney's videos. Those are all very good videos. Those are gold in YouTube. However, you don't need to do it that way because you're maybe not want to do multiple rounds. Maybe you want to do one round or two, and so you don't need a cell builder that's. If you're only doing 10 cells, you don't need a Bob Binney style cell builder because it's super, super strong because they're doing, what do they do? 45 cells or maybe even more than that.
2 frames per 10 frame box. So
Yeah,
that's 90.
90,
like 90 cells. So you don't need that.
and they're on a 14-day cycle, right? 14 or 20-day cycle, and they're just
Exactly.
I did 48.
So if you're doing one round, just use it like a 6-frame nuke. I've used that. That works perfectly. Even a 4-frame nuke that's really jammed full and stocked with bees, you can use that.
I did 48. I did 48 cells last year in a 6-frame Lyson, and never re-upped it. Just did the cells, came back when they were capped, moved the cap cells to the incubator, regrafted some more, put them back in, and just repeated that till I had as many queen cells as I needed. Put them in the incubator, and then I followed Brad. When they hatch out, I put them on my desk, grabbed the virgin queen, marked her, put her back in, took her out to her new home, and let her go. And that's how I did every one of my queens this last year.
Yeah, that procedure is the way I do it. I just keep continuously grafting. Usually it's a Wednesday, and because you march the days out to when you want them hatched for the next week.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to work it on a weekend, where you want to start on this day and count the days out to where it comes out to where you're going to put them in on a Saturday or something of that nature.
I got a question for you guys then. So when you're introducing mated queens, right? And say like in a small hive, like maybe a 2-framer or in a nuke or something
a
like
mated
that.
queen or a virgin?
A mated queen.
Mated queen.
Right? Introducing her to a new hive. So I've sprayed sugar water on her and let her go. Just
Direct.
live release.
Direct
direct release.
introduction.
Direct introduction.
How long has that colony been queenless?
They say 10 days.
Okay, that's quite a long time.
Yeah, and they accept it right away. I'm just wondering. I'm just
What
taking.
you could do with that
just-
sugar water is to put some vanilla in there.
That might work. Yeah. Well, I mean, you
Van-
said it worked, but I might try that.
I would put sugar water with vanilla extract in there, and that way spray the bees in the hive and spray the queen, and guess what? They all smell the same.
And you know what, Brad? It's not 2 weeks. It's probably a week, 7 days,
Okay.
queenless. No
But more
queen
than
in
2 or
there.
3 days.
More than 2 to 3 days, yeah.
Yeah,
And just
yeah.
spray a frame down with sugar water, and they're too busy cleaning the sugar water off of the queen that by the time that they clean her off, she's accepted.
Right. Interesting. I've not had found a really good way to introduce queens to my colonies. Like if I want to requeen, that's something I'm not very good at. So I need to learn all the tricks I can learn.
Yeah.
The-
Something I was going to share though, as far as building your cell builder, if you put together a cell builder, and you were always talking, well, your cell builder, you want to have lots of nice young bees in there. And, if you're not Lloyd Harris, you maybe not know exactly how old each bee is. And you'd have to know about his research to get that joke, but I'm sorry. There's a trick that you can use. If you're looking at this cell builder that you just put together and you're thinking, gee, I wonder if the bees in here are young enough, pick it up and move it 20 or 30 feet. Come back the next day and every bee in there is going to be a young bee.
Yes.
So you can see that, and then you can see, do I need more? And then maybe remedy that, or be confident in that and go ahead and do your graft.
I'll tell you what, Brad made me feel good the other day. He reminded me of something. A lot of times we'll know what to do, right? We've already done it in the past, like a certain technique or something, right? And but for some reason we can't pull it up in our Rolodex in our head of what we're thinking of, right? So what was it, Brad, you were telling me the other day about the I'm like, well, I would probably just do this, and you're like, yeah, worked perfect. About shaking the bees just out.
You were telling me, yeah, exactly. Yeah. What I did last summer is if you watch my videos, you'll know that I'll make up my nukes in the apiary, and then I'll put them on a pallet and bring them into my building with my little tractor. And I've determined that if I leave them in there for 2 nights, I can take them out the next morning, and I can put them anywhere in my apiary, and the bees stay in the nuke. They only remember that long. If they're in the hive for one entire day, and a night on either side, that's all. They don't remember past that, so they stay in the box.
It's like a goldfish.
Well, yeah. Exactly. Except that's only 10 seconds. So
15, but who's counting?
So I put a skid of nukes in my building. And they sat there overnight, and then the next day I made up a bunch more, and I went and put them in the building as well. I actually had limited space, so I put one on top of the other. So I think I have about 8 or 10 nukes on a skid or something. And then the next day I remembered that this skid of nukes I put in there 2 days ago, so I went and picked up both, and I drove them to the apiary, and I transferred them into their boxes. Well, you can see the problem here. Well, half of them depopulated because they hadn't been in the building long enough. And so I come back to these hives the next day, and there's a queen and about 15 bees wandering around in these nukes, and I'm thinking, oh, what do I do with that? And I was talking to Bob, and I said, what am I going to do with these? And he said, well, I would just dump a whole bunch of bees on the ground in front of those hives. And I thought, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I did. I went and harvested a whole bunch of bulk bees, and I just dumped them on the ground. And sure enough,
it crawled right in.
Fully populated. Yeah.
And sometimes
there's something about the bees going through the front door. Like if they're not robber bees, they're young bees. If they go through the front door, then they're not going to harm the queen or anything. And yeah, it worked perfectly.
Amazing.
But that's nothing that you didn't already know.
That is not something I didn't already know. It's just one of those things that just kind of escaped me, and I didn't really remember to use that trick.
Sometimes I walk up into my apiary and I'm like, oh, what do I do? You know what to do.
That's every day for me, buddy. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't follow any of the rules when I'm raising queens. What I do, I've got a yard at home that we play with all the time. There's a few different hives in there. I'll pick the strongest one I've got. They're 2 deeps. They'll be right full of bees. I'll go through that. I'll pull the queen out and with a frame of brood, and I'll put her in a nuke. And while I'm doing that, any frames of brood I put in my top hive. That's where I'll put all my grafted queen or cells go into there. I graft into a NICOT cell. So 2 or 3 days after I've put my grafted cells in the hives, then I'll go back, I'll lift the top box off, I'll drop the queen into the bottom box. She's been sitting up on top of this hive in a nuke. I'll drop her back down in, put a queen excluder on, and go through, make sure I got no queen cells started. If I have, I'll bust them. Then once the brood gets capped, I'll go through and I'll put cages on all of those. I let them hatch right in my hive. When I need a queen, I'll go look through, pull them out of there, take her out, and use them. That's how I do it, and it works.
That's beautiful.
The only downfall I've got when I'm grafting at my age now, I probably murder more larvae just with shaking.
I hear you. I pick up the perfect larva and it's like, oh crap, I squashed it or something.
Or you roll when you're putting.
I use 6x magnifier glasses I bought that seemed to work good.
But that's how I do it, and it works for me.
You know, there's a lot of ways to do this process, just like we've all talked about it. It's just a matter of finding, actually doing your research. I watched Randy's video. I watched Bob Binney's and a couple others, and I picked Bob Binney's. And you just get familiar with it. It's, you know, there's so many ways to do things nowadays in beekeeping, but when you get comfortable with it, then you know that's the way you want to do it. And as far as grafting, you know that you're getting good at it when you're basically done with grafting season, and then the whole rest of the summer or winter, you're sitting here thinking, oh crap, I can't wait to start grafting, because that tells you have the confidence that you have the confidence in grafting. You can't wait to do it. So,
or you get halfway through summer and you look at your apiary and think, what in the world am I going to do with all these queens?
Yes. That's
a
the
good problem to have, though.
That is a good problem.
Where am I going to put all these
no less.
queens? That's my problem. I got all these queens banked on top of hives, and I'm like, oh shit, where am I going to put them all?
In the nukes.
That's easy. How expensive it is.
Yeah.
How much money I'm not going to make.
For me, it was, I wish I would have known to fight the urge to go in the colony. So when I got my bees originally, like everybody, right? You're sitting back, oh, I'm going to get bees. I'm going to be a beekeeper. I got my colony set up. Now I've got bees. Shit. I don't need to go in there. Matter of fact, don't go in there, right? Let them do their thing. There's nothing you can do as a first-year beekeeper to help those bees.
No, but as a first-year beekeeper, you probably did the right thing by getting in there all the time.
Yeah.
The what you learned by getting into that hive every week or something like that far outweighs the little bit of damage you did to that hive.
I agree. It maybe doesn't do the bees any good, but it does you good because you get to see a lot of normal, and you don't need to recognize every malaise or disease or problem with your bees.
When I say don't go in there,
if you know absolutely distinctly without a question of anything what normal looks like, you'll see stuff that's not normal, and you go, "What in the world is that?"
This is stuff that's not normal.
Well,
Yeah.
what I mean by don't go in there and fight the urges, I already know you're gonna go in there, right?
Yeah.
If you went in there yesterday, you don't need to go in there today. You know what I mean?
But
You
you're
don't have
gonna.
You're
You're
that's what I'm
gonna.
saying. You're gonna.
You're gonna.
But if you can purposefully tell yourself, slow down, don't go in there as often, because I was like everybody else, right? You go to YouTube and you watch Barnyard Bees say, "Oh, you only need 2 frames of bees and they'll make a whole new colony for you, and you can just walk away and they'll make a queen and you'll
Hey,
be
Mark.
good." But what they don't tell you is right around July, we've got these things called small hive beetles that will wreck you. So I went and I had, first year split. They're looking good. 17 colonies. They look better than most of the ones I see on YouTube. And I'm looking at them. And then you come back out and you got buckets and buckets of slimed out frames and dead colonies, and you end up overwintering 4 nukes. So did I have more colonies than what I bought? Yes. But would they have been better off had I let them be strong where they could defend their own thing? Yes. So there's something to be said for just letting them grow and don't be as aggressive splitting right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
That's my point. Hey, Mark.
Well, y'all was talking about being normal. I think I'm normal. I just now went out there with a spotlight and pulled tops off 3 or 4 of them just to look in. Is that normal?
Spotlight.
I was going to say we're
Just
beekeepers.
because.
There's not one person here that you could say is normal. We're all beekeepers, certainly.
Yep.
That and normal can't be used in the same sentence together.
Well, it's 60 degrees and I got a shim on them where I fed a little sugar brick. They done eat the sugar brick. I shine off in there. Of course, it's dark out, and the whole top frame all the way across just full of bees, and they all got their butts stuck up and they're doing this.
Yeah.
And there's a shim up there about that big. So what are they doing?
They got their butts
They're
in the air.
keeping that brood warm is what they're doing. They're brooding up heavy.
Ventilating.
We got 73 degrees tomorrow here.
It's supposed to be warm up here too.
And it's
Not
50 right
73,
now.
but
Yeah.
it's warmer.
Doug, you get any snow?
About 8 inches and about
Really?
40-mile-an-hour winds.
Yeah, it's pretty windy. You couldn't measure the amount I got. There's almost nothing.
Oh,
The whole world is ice, though. I can't even walk outside anywhere.
yeah. We didn't get the rain, just snow.
Oh yeah, we got about 12 hours of rain.
Yeah, no.
before it
12
hit the
hours
snow.
of rain.
Yeah, but the problem is it was cold, so it turned ice as soon as it hit the ground.
I saw it out on Ian's video. He was like, yeah, it's wet and ice, and now
Yeah.
we're going to get dumped on again. So this is
Yeah.
great. Like,
You'll see that on mine tomorrow.
Not
You see
great.
the videos. The whole backyard is a big skating rink. It's huge.
oh my God.
Well, they got a little bit of snow here in Calgary, just enough to make everything kind of slushy and mucky and messy and just a mess.
I'm riding
apparently-
tomorrow.
We didn't get any at Grand Prairie, from what I understand. A little tiny scuff. Apparently, I could still mow my lawn.
You're what, Doug?
I'm riding tomorrow.
Riding.
Yeah.
Riding what? Riding your
Sled.
snowblower?
Yeah, no, my sled.
Yeah, I don't think they've been riding much here at all. There's no snow.
I did the snowblower today.
Just don't carry any sharp objects, Brad, if you go out your back
No.
porch.
No hammers or axes or anything.
No, nothing.
Or plastic snow brushes. Wasn't what I was carrying was the problem. No,
Doug, do you-
I'm avoiding going out. I had to go to the honey house, and it was baby steps the whole way. I was just terrified to walk on that.
Doug, do you winter outdoors or do you are you indoors like James and Brad?
No, everything's outdoors.
And what are you up in Alberta or?
No, southeast corner of Saskatchewan,
Oh.
Saskatchewan Manitoba border,
I got you.
50 miles from the U.S. border.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether that makes you a southern boy or an eastern boy.
It used to be handy, James. We were right on the Manitoba-Saskatchewan border. Manitoba always changed times. I could go pick up a girl in Manitoba, take her home, and be in bed a half hour before she was.
That's my cue.
You Saskatchewan boys like Manitoba for more than that, I understand. We won't go there.
Too funny. What was the topic tonight? I joined here kind of late, so.
Everything.
Been
No,
all
we-
over.
We've been all over the place.
Oh, okay.
I had one guy ask about grafting, some tips and things like that.
We got into
I
grafting
started
recently.
on that. Now, Mark, how do you? I mean, I've seen your hives, and I know you graft about 40 cells at a time. It seems like. So
Yeah, if it's a big hive, and it's got enough in there, I will. And we're on a flow.
So
Everything's got to be right.
if
You know.
you're doing double deeps, I think. Are you switching it around where you have, let's say, the queen upstairs and your graft is in the bottom and double screen board and all that kind of stuff, or how you got
Lord,
it?
Charlie, I've done it so many ways I couldn't tell you. But my favorite is a double deep, ready to swarm. That's my
Right.
favorite.
And then how do
Cool.
you separate the queen from one box to the other, or what?
Just take the queen out, go do something else with her, and
you
you can
make-
drop cells in it right then, just as long as you come back and get rid of all the wild cells.
So you go
and-
in, move the queen, like I think, what was it, Brad? Was that the way you were doing it? Somebody was just saying that.
No, I take them out and put them in a nuke and set it up on.
Yeah,
top
that's
of the
right. It Doug, where he take a frame with her on it, put her in a nuke, and then drop your grafting frame in that hive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a friend who does that. She really likes it.
Yeah, I was just trying to.
I like that. That totally negates the whole confining the queen, or caging the queen, and shutting her down for for 2 weeks. And yeah, that's kind of counterproductive. Now that you explain that, Brad, and yeah, that's good.
Well, I'm glad you found it helpful. Charlie, I put in the private chat a link because I can't post it in the comments to the video I referred to. Randy Oliver just describing that cell builder idea I talked about. Queen ring for small producer. It's called.
Queens for
It's
pennies?
rather long, but I think it's really golden. Honestly, I think he gets a little complicated with it, but if you follow the exact kind of spirit of what he's doing and why he's doing it, I think it's a pretty powerful method because it doesn't require a lot of extra resources. People often say, well, I can't graft because I don't have all of these hives sitting around in order to build a cell builder. Well, you don't need it. If you have one nice strong colony, that's your cell builder. And that's what Randy concentrates on in this video. So
Yeah,
have a look at that.
That's what I was just thinking here. In my situation, where it's like, okay, how am I going to build this cell builder, and when I'm going to do it, or whatever. Now, if I just, like you say, if I've got a 5/5 nuke, I go in there and find the queen on a frame someplace, and I pull that frame out and put it in a 2-frame mating box or a 5-frame nuke box by itself. All right, there's my cell builder. It's ready to go. All I got to do is graft, and you're telling me just put the frame in there and come back 2 or 3 days, and like you say, go through it, make sure there's not any rogue queen cells other than my grafting frame, and all that. I mean, I'll just say it's simple. It's very simple to do.
Now,
And then-
what about once you're done reintroducing the queen? Are you reintroducing the queen that you took out originally back in there, or are you just leaving us one of the new virgins in there to get mated?
After you're done, I usually split it and put new queens in the splits.
Yeah, that's what I would do. That would be the easiest.
Yeah.
But the thing of it is, if you take the queen out of there, and let's say she's got so many frames of brood in there that's capped, that's emergencing over time, and it's regenerating itself as far as young nurse bees to do a good job on your grafting frame. And then if you're grafting every week, you got the motors running. It's the engine is running by that time to keep the graft fresh, and you should have a high grafting percentage rate.
Charlie, I just put another link in there. That's the Ralph Buchler video that describes removing the brood. He describes a lot of other things too, so I think it's a really good video. It's over an hour, so there's a lot of juicy stuff in there.
Hey Brad, I did his trapping comb method.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I did it on 3 colonies, and it does work very well. Problem with it is it's very labor intensive.
Yeah.
If you got multiple yards, you're not doing that.
That's right.
And I put it. I was comparing it to a regular mite treatment, and it came out very high, like 95% effective. The efficacy was about 95%, so it does work. The trapping comb method does.
Yeah. I did that kind of thing my first couple of years. The 16, I guess, 3 years. I did that, and I grew to a large enough apiary that it just became unwieldy, and I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So that was unfortunate.
It's a shame because it's a great method, and it actually does work. And
I think if I ran, I think it was when I exceeded about 100 colonies, I just found that that's all I was doing all summer.
Yeah. Wow.
I got about 120 the last summer I did that, and I just decided I couldn't do that anymore. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I only have Mead.
That's the stuff. Is that all?
This is what happens when the this is the first time I tried this. So this is one of the apiaries that I work with up there. She's won awards worldwide now, but she sent me down with a bunch of samplers. So I've been handing out samplers and stuff like this all around Calgary. So I'm sampling the Stolen Harvest chocolate cherry one tonight.
Wow.
Is it a mead or is it a wine?
It's a mead. It's a
nice.
Yeah.
I make a lot of mead. That's my wintertime hobby.
I need to make more. Haven't had mead in a while.
I got what? I think there's 6, 8. I have 8 different flavors that she makes down here this weekend. So
nice.
Is it a dry or sweet?
No, this here is probably a medium. Actually, it's probably right in the middle of it.
Nice.
She has a mango blossom one that is a sweet wine, and then she's got a Saskatoon that is a dry. So a little bit of something for every taste.
So you got the Stolen Harvest from the Stolen Harvest?
It is actually, and she just put on another batch. So I had some. I was calling it my private reserve honey. So I had about 5 5-gallon pails that I was keeping for myself. It was the first extraction of pretty much straight clover crop, and she convinced me to sell that to her. So she put that on the other day, and she says it smells absolutely totally amazing. So
that's that lady you had on the clip. at the market that time, James?
That's correct. Yeah, yeah. And in fact, it's interesting because I came down here to Calgary, and I stopped off to pick up that clarifier that I bought, and she had a honey pump and stuff there too. And as it turns out, they were called, I think it's Timberjack Meadery. So as it turns out, they used to have enough hives that they produced all their own honey, but they've got out of the bees. And wouldn't you know it, she was looking for a honey supplier. So, it worked out rather well. So we're definitely going to keep in touch.
Take care, Randy.
So it's interesting how you
Right
come
on.
down here. You're coming down for a conference, and just to get out and see people and meet people, you can make connections like that. So, yeah, I think she said they look for, I think it's 45,000 pounds a year. So,
45,000 pounds.
yeah.
Maybe send her a tanker next year.
I wish I could make that much. So
I don't.
Backhurst is thinking about that.
Maybe everybody on the screen together. 45,000 pounds.
So it's interesting though. Like I said, you literally you stumble on this stuff. So I can't
talk to people. That's what you do.
That's exactly it. Get out and go and see people, and don't be afraid to go to these conferences, and don't be afraid to stop by and say hello, because the contacts that you might make or break your business. So I mean, I really can't say to get out and see people.
Yeah, you never know. What are they going to say? No.
Yeah. Sticks and
Well, a lot of
stones, right?
times they'll come up and ask you. Like Brian was talking about how he got the solar farm because he sold a jar of honey to a lady that looked at his jar and got his number and called him to bring bees out to the solar farm, right?
That's like I said, you got to get out and make those contacts. So.
I kind of missed that. It's one of those things, I don't think anybody really likes doing it. Maybe some people do.
I do.
But it's one of those things that I never really loved doing, but I like to force myself to do because it was kind of, you get all nervous and you get all worked up about it and you go and do it. And most times it turns out well. And
see,
just, I
you're
haven't
just
done it
the
in a long
opposite of
time.
me. I feel like I'm walking down the ramp at the WCW or WWE. I'm like, woo! Come in with the. I got my theme coming on there.
You get a guy like me walking in your shop and saying, "Hey, you should buy stuff from me." It's maybe just a little different.
Yeah. I drove past this farm for 2 years in a row, and they had this beautiful crimson clover, and I'm like, man, I want some of that. So stopped 1 year. The guy wasn't interested. I'm like, all right, no problem. Come back the next year. Nah, we spray our crops, nothing. So the next year he was like, all right, well, we got a pumpkin patch. If you want to put a couple hives in the back of the pumpkin patch, we'll see what happens. They did great. The next year I moved into strawberries. They did great. And now he's like, oh, yeah, would you like to be partners? So,
see, that's the whole thing with this. Strawberry creamed honey, right? Creamed honey is not a very big thing, but I've got a huge strawberry patch down the road, and they don't sell my honey. They sell another honey from across town. So now I'm thinking I can go there with strawberry honey for a strawberry patch and say, man, this would sell great over here. How much do you want this fall? That type of thing.
See, I like that. How much
creamed honey is a big thing, Bob.
What did you say, Doug?
Creamed honey is a big thing.
Well, it is where you're at. Here, everyone's like, what the hell is that? Creamed honey.
Oh, they
So
don't
I-
know what it
I'm
is.
lactose intolerant.
What's wrong with that honey?
I just sent Charlie and Bob a couple pictures there. I don't know if you guys can email it to yourself. I don't have that capability down here, but that's what I drove into when I went into to pick up this stuff. And you know you're in the right place. I was way out in the boondocks, and I'm thinking, geez, I wonder if I went to the right place. But you know, you pull in and you see a nice sign like that. You know they got their poop in a group, and then those vats. Each one of those vats is 3,000 liters, and they got like 4 or 5 of them in there, and then they've got 4 or 5 2,500 liter vats in there. Complete automated bottling line, like just to get in and see an operation like that, I found totally amazing.
You don't want to mess up a batch of that. Jesus.
No.
Norman's fallen in love with this creamed honey from Colorado.
I just turned my wife onto it. She's, I made a batch of it and it sat up there on a shelf. She really enjoys it.
Buying Brian's honey.
So we got a scientific term for poop in a group, James.
Oh,
It's
and what is
called
that?
interfeces amalgamated.
There you go. There you go. I'm just reading Brian's. Not every opportunity is a good opportunity, and just because it's a good opportunity doesn't mean it's a good opportunity for you right at that moment. That's so true. I fired a customer before he was even a customer one day last summer. It was quite something. I had it all worked out, and we met, and I just decided, no,
Yeah.
You're not
gonna happen.
me, sir.
So absolutely,
This is not a good match.
but you never know unless you get out there. You can always pick and choose who you want to be your customers after there, but you need to get out there to meet these people.
Yep.
Yeah, and sometimes you just got to take chances. You don't know.
So, but
If it don't work out, you can leave.
absolutely.
Once you get out there and have done it for a few years, they start coming to you. You don't have to go to them either.
Well,
Exactly.
Maybe that's the part. I have no problem talking, and I really don't care.
We would
if
have
people
never gathered that.
I was going to say, if
You
I don't care if
should be
people
kind to
judge
yourself.
me or not.
James.
So, this is
Don't be hard
this is
on
me.
yourself that way.
Take me or leave me. It makes no difference to me at all, right? So, in fact, I think I had a few people at the conference today. So they looked at me like I had 4 heads and a tail, and I think they kind of thought I was absolutely nuts. But that's okay.
But they remember you.
Oh, they'll remember me.
Well, Doug, that's kind of what I was saying, that I kind of miss going out there because I can't really do that anymore because they don't have enough honey to do it.
Get out of there.
Well, see, that's my thing. I haven't gotten to the point of surplus to where I would be willing to sell it at a reduced cost so someone could make mead with it. Right?
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is I did talk to the gentleman there at Mead. I haven't heard back on my application yet. So I cornered the gentleman there today. He was at the conference, and I says, where am I with my application? And apparently it's lost somewhere. He's got to go back and find it. But like I was telling him, I says, well, the longer it takes, I says, the more sales I find for my honey. And to Ian's point, it's a great conference. They've got it all in one room. That's a little bit of a different venue from what they do down in the States. So there's not a lot of time for questions after the presentation, but you can go out and ask all the questions you want after that presentation. So it's one right after another. A lot of great information and a lot of stuff that I've been doing out there. Now they put the information up there, and now I understand that some stuff I'm doing right, some stuff I'm not. But at least now you've got the information and the data there to arm yourself to go out and do better. So no, it's like I say, day. I guess this is kind of day 3. Day 1 was the Canadian Honey Council meeting and stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow as well. So
you were saying that they looked at you like you're a stranger and you're asking your questions. Was that towards the speaker or? I guess
no,
what,
this was after. So there's a bunch of queen breeders and stuff like that down here. So I was kind of talking to them, and one of the things, for example, I was like, well, why are we waiting? Like, why do we wait to graft these queens? And they all kind of look at me. Well, our season's so short. So I says, well, make it longer. And they, what do you mean make it longer? And then I was explaining to him, well, you know what, I've got.
Oh, you mean your drone machine?
I got colonies that are for drones. I got colonies that are raising brood, and they all of a sudden they went from thinking I had 4 heads to
you're my best buddy.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Went from thinking you had 4 heads to just one big one.
either
Sorry,
that or
you
they're wondering
gotta-
where his head was.
Well, that could be too. But I wasn't thinking like this, so I wasn't up there that far. But no,
sorry,
and you know what? It's great. Like I said, you can. There's not as many people as there is and stuff like that down south, so you get lots of one-on-one time, and everybody's open to the questions, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow as well. So, well worth the trip. The 8-hour drive down here for it. That's absolutely for sure.
Let's see. Well, I'm hoping the 8-hour flight will be well worth it.
When are you leaving, Bob?
It's supposed to turn really cold, isn't it? It's supposed to be like minus 44.
I'm bringing it with me from down here. I've got 13 days. Leaving in 13 days.
You're never going to want to go home, right?
Oh, I already knew that. I just, I'd have to prove my viability to be a Canadian.
Well, you know what?
ability to scoop bees out of you is.
Yep, that's my new job.
Yeah.
Well,
You're going to be the new bee sweeper.
One of the speakers today was all about bringing in foreign workers. Can you wear, put a big sombrero on, Bob?
My tan's not dark enough.
Well, you know what they say, Bob? Come to Winnipeg. Come to Winnipeg for the culture. Stay because your car won't start.
I need somebody to make me a shirt that I went to Canada and all I did was scoop Ian's bees.
Yeah. So, here's a good one for you. So, I let Ian know, so I've already told him, so at least I can put it out here. But my wife and Alan saved him big time. So Ian flew in. I picked him up at the airport, and I was going to go out there with my dark glasses and my big coat and everything like that, and I was going to write on a piece of cardboard, the one, the only, the legend. And I was telling him this. He's like, "Oh, I'm glad you didn't."
But you should have done it in the unicorn suit.
Yeah, he says if you would have, I would have got a real good laugh at it. But my wife is like, "Oh, I don't know what his sense is. He may never talk to you again." Of course, and then Alan's like, "Go, go, go, go!" It's like 2 devils, one sitting on each shoulder.
I got to introduce him from the podium like that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your friend and mine, Ian Stepler, the man, the myth, the legend. It's the Kraken. I can't talk. My tongue is all tied.
So I've got 13 days till Canada and 2 days to Bob Benny and Lewis Bartlett. So that'll be it's going to be an interesting weekend.
That's going to be fun.
It's funny, Bob. We have our state meeting the same day that you guys, or the same day that you're going to be up in Canada.
Yeah, and the same down here in South Carolina. People are like, you going to the state conference? Nope, I'm going to Canada.
February 24th, right?
What did they say then?
I just told them the beer's better in Canada.
It is.
Yeah, you won't be able to drink as many. It's a little stronger up here.
I'm a lightweight anyway, so there might be more unicorns dancing around campfires. Of course, the hotel lobby wouldn't appreciate it.
Made up
Oh,
the
they
bed in
just
the
probably say,
apiary
"Oh."
camper if things get out of hand, Bob.
I won't make it that far. I'll just fall over in a snowdrift.
I'll put the bucket on the tractor. I'll carry you.
Yeah.
As long as it makes the vlog, that's
I'll
all
just-
I care about.
Just dump.
And Ian, I'm saying it right now. If I come and scoop your bees, it better be in the daily vlog that you hired some south of the border foreign worker to come in and scoop your bees.
Temporary, very temporary.
I'm not sure. If you get paid in Canadian dollars, is that more or less than pesos?
It's probably more, but it's close. It's going to be.
I can see that now. You go and scoop all the bees up. In hand you $5 for your work or something like that, and then they'd arrest you because you didn't have a work permit or a work visa.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna brag on Brad for a minute. Of all of the things in the United States that I could bring to Brad in Canada, do you know what he asked me for?
What do you think I asked for?
Yeah,
What do you
let's
think I asked
take a poll. What do you
Let's
think
take
he
a
asked
poll.
for?
Okay, Charlie, what do you think I asked for?
Kraken.
Kraken? Okay, Jack, what did I ask for?
Oh man.
You're northern, they won't get it.
It's something from the south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A hive beetle.
No one of those. Okay, Doug. Jack is going to think. Doug, what did I ask? What would you ask for?
Probably a bottle
What
of
did I ask
Everclear.
Oh yeah, you
Yeah.
guys did Everclear.
Some moonshine.
And we got 190 proof
Okay.
down here.
I can make you moonshine. My skill's sitting right back there.
Ryan
So, Dan,
says Fresca.
What did I ask for? I got lots of Fresca.
You asked to make sure you had a return ticket. That's what you asked.
I bet you if anybody gets it, it'll be Mark.
Yeah.
A
What did I
return
ask for,
flight?
Mark?
And
No,
it's
don't
not
what
beekeepers.
you asked for. What, like Bob's making a big deal about this. So what do you think I asked for? No,
Nope,
Jack's
nothing.
still thinking too. I think Jack said liquor
I
or
said-
something.
I said
Well-
some moonshine.
It's also an acronym for a saying down here that a lot of people wear on shirts, especially females. Girls raised in the South.
Oh,
Grits.
You want grits?
Bringing grits.
I asked him.
You want
to
some
get
grits?
Bring me some grits.
Oh my God, yes. Dude,
Seriously?
grits is awesome.
Don't find grits here all the time.
So by the looks of it, Ian's going to walk down the lane complaining about your help there. So
I'm telling you, it's the perfect intro. He's
We'll put
by the
something
fire. He chucks the log in. He gets the coffee. He
he
walks,
walks out the door and throws a snowball in your face.
through the snow, and he walks into the bee building there.
And there's
And I'm in there sweeping,
shivering,
You're gonna
freezing.
bring some magic
scooping.
grits.
and he could just be like, "This goddamn foreign labor I hired."
You bring some magic grits, Bob.
Magic grits. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get the variety pack, so he's gonna get like the ham grits. The Mark
Yeah,
was talking
some
about.
grits that only take 25 minutes to cook instead of.
No,
40
he wants the quick
minutes.
grits.
Oh, instant. No, not quick.
Yeah.
Instant grits. You pour it in the hot water. You pour it in the boiling water.
Quaker
you go.
instant grits.
Instant grits. You
I
betcha.
got a jar of them upstairs.
Right. There you go.
So, yeah, we're gonna have fun.
When you
She were
see
here,
when you
10
when you
grits.
see Dr. Bartlett, pick his brain about hive beetles
Oh yeah.
because
ask
he's
him how
got
he's doing.
he's done a real good study with that chlorothantroniloprol on it.
Wow.
Well, this is a brunch.
And actually
Yeah.
said it.
Yeah,
Lewis
And
can't say it half the time.
It's a brunch that there is no topic, there's no speech. It's just a bunch of people talking.
Kind of like what we're doing.
Like tonight.
Yeah. But I'll be the only one with beer. So, I mean,
Hey, you guys.
Hey.
Hey, what's up, Jack?
hey.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we can.
Oh yeah, loud and
I don't
clear.
hear any dishes clanking. You must not be home.
No, we're at the hotel where the conference is being held. So
Ah.
I'm actually in bed right now.
Thanks for sharing.
I drove by y'all today and waved.
I hope he's wearing pants.
We're good.
That's all I could do. I couldn't stop. I had to keep going.
So how's your conference going, or is it just going to start tomorrow?
Well, the actual workshop or conference is technically starting tomorrow, but this evening we had basically it was kind of a Mardi Gras party and we had a lighthearted speaker there, prizes, and just had a nice evening.
A lot of the vendors came and set their things up today.
Yeah.
So
it's been a fun and a really full day already. We got up here pretty early after we picked up Mr. Ed from the airport and just came straight up here and started working on some things. So a lot to be done.
The Mr. Ed?
Mr. Ed.
The Mr. Ed, yes.
Is there a lot of vendors there?
I have 12 vendors, and they've all brought a lot of stuff. So I hope everybody brought their credit cards.
Cool.
And this is just what, a one-day event?
Mr. JW is here too.
Yeah, that's correct, Charlie. This is just a one day.
One day.
We've got, what was it, 120 in the beginners and like 144 in the experienced session. So just under 300 people.
Good crowd.
Tomorrow.
Nice. That's a pretty good turnout, is it not?
Yeah, it'll be good.
So ever since the whole COVID area, the Eastern Missouri Beekeepers Association, much like most of the country, people kind of stopped doing in-person things for a period of time, right? The world was a little bit of a weird place at that point. And for a number of reasons, they never really fully came back together, even though it was a really strong club and they've been in operation for 70 years. So that's quite a long stretch. So we kind of put things back together. And then I think some people were not optimistic for good numbers on kind of their first year back. But luckily they have us here. We're very optimistic, more optimistic for everyone. And, I think it's a pretty good turnout for not having it for the last few years.
Well, didn't you say that you were about sold out?
That's correct. Yeah,
like 14 tickets total were left over. We sold out once and then reconfigured the seating and were able to add seats. And then we're just shy of selling. I think we added like 80 seats or something like that.
I believe it was.
And then sold in 3 days, sold all but 14 seats.
Yeah, that was where you finally twisted the guy's arm, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. I wasn't going to accept no for an answer. I said, we need to figure out how to put more people in here comfortably. And we were able to get that done.
One more row.
One more row.
That's right, Jack. You got it. Give me one more. And then when I pushed him enough and we figured this thing out, somebody else had asked me about, I think after the beginners portion had sold out again pretty quickly. Somebody else asked me about it. And I said, I'm pretty sure that he'll kick me off the board if I ask him for more seats again.
That's a great turnout for that you didn't invite any of us to speak.
Hey, you know what?
There's always
They
next year.
wanted to
Right.
sell the tickets, Bob. They actually
They would have had to give it away. Oh, Bob's speaking? Nah, we're good.
You know what? We have monthly meetings every second Tuesday of the month. Let me know what month you're available.
That's right.
Well,
I'll
Tuesday
come
night's a
take
bad night for me. It's live stream night.
That sounds like an excuse, Bob. You can live stream from anywhere.
Live stream the meeting. There you go.
We could do that. It'd be an extra 100 people watching.
There you go.
I will come pick any one of you guys up from the airport that wants to come.
Oh,
Does
you had
Spirit
me right
fly
there.
where
You
you're
said
at?
From,
I got
from the
point.
airport. I was going to say, come on up. Come pick me up.
So, James, I've never met you before, but I believe I've watched some of your YouTube videos, and you're up in Canada. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I'm in northern Alberta.
So,
And thanks for watching.
Absolutely. So I was telling Charlie and I were talking here maybe a week or two ago. I can't recall exactly, but we were on the topic of like feeders that you would use for feeding sugar water, to your bees. And I have to honestly say that your video was one of them that I used to make my my pump setup. So thank you very much for your attention to detail.
Perfect. My pleasure. Anything I can do to help out a fellow beekeeper.
I was able to put mine together for a reasonable cost, or what I think is a reasonable cost, and it works very well. So we're looking forward to. Last fall was the first time I was able to use it, and it works very well. So we're looking to be able to help use that as a time-saving method.
My kitchen stayed much cleaner.
One of the things on that, and I don't know, I can't remember whether they put it on the video or not, is that hose reel. That hose reel will save you a ton of time.
I can only imagine.
Well, you will. I got one for you, bro. I just got to get over there.
That's why I threw that in there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to remix your syrup.
That's because I have to imagine it so far.
You don't have to mix your syrup twice when it breaks and leaks everywhere.
Yeah, well,
I could dump syrup on the ground even faster.
Yeah, it's 8 hours home. So if I was to leave right now, think you could convince Ian to put it as a carry-on?
Might be a bit heavy.
Well, when you come to Manitoba for the conference in a couple weeks, just bring it with you.
I won't get that time off. Nope, that's I pretty much used up a lot of my time off here to zip down to Mississippi and things like that. So
I'm going to become a Canadian sharecropper.
There you go. I do have to make a trip
indentured servant.
That's it.
I do have to make a trip over to Winnipeg there. So, I gotta finish up some welding and a few things I got going on there first, and then I got to get over there because we got to pick up some woodware and get going on getting that put back together. I was talking to Alan about that the other day, and we're going to be behind the 8 ball, so we gotta step on the gas. I got a few things actually. I'm gonna have almost as big a load going that way as not quite as what I'm gonna have coming back.
Oh yeah.
So,
Fellers, I think I'm gonna have to duck out.
Have a good night, Dan.
All right.
Good chat.
Yep. I'll catch you another one. I'll take care, everybody, and stay warm.
See, we came in and extended Charlie's live stream by 2 hours.
All right, too.
It's 3.5 hours. Holy crap.
Yeah, it's almost
You guys been
midnight
at it
here.
for a minute.
Huh?
I said you all been at it for a minute then.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 hours and 28 minutes.
I was content just to sit in and listen to you all for a little bit, and Melissa kept saying, "Hey, Charlie's posting that link. I think he wants you to come in." I'm like, nah, he doesn't. And then you mentioned, "Hey, come on in." So she kept saying, "Go get the laptop," and I said, "I don't want to leave. I don't want to get out of bed."
Well, now we got to stay. I brought an extra beer. You know what happens when I drink? We get discounts on the website.
We spin the wheel.
Spin the wheel. I don't have anything spin the wheel worthy.
You never know where you end up.
The pins, James. The pins are selling really well right now.
I told you, right? There's a story behind those pens. So I was using those pens quite a while ago. I was trying to tell Bob, you need to look at these pins because of course I'm up in Canada and everything like that. And he's like, I don't know if they're going to be any good, and don't want to order very many. And now they're just flying off the shelves, are they?
Yeah, last time I started off small, right? I bought like 20 sets or something.
Yeah, it wasn't very many, and I was like,
and then I bought like 50 sets, and then last time I bought, It's like 785 pins, right? The guy was like, "Are you serious right now?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't want you to send them to me as sets. I want you to sell them to me as bulk pins."
That you're eating them.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I told him what I was going to do with
He
them,
said, "No, I'm in the Navy."
and that's the yeah. I'm not in the Marines. We don't eat that stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to explain it to you, but except Bob ate all the crayons, and I'm
But now
fresh out of
that's
plate.
the only product that I have that on Amazon I'm consistently getting. I call it a scammer because they're not contacting Amazon about the link, right? They're contacting me directly saying, "Oh, this is a courtesy. Yeah, here's a courtesy reported to Amazon."
Yeah.
Because if they have a product with the product, they don't contact the person. They contact Amazon, and Amazon contacts me. So anyway, legal troubles with swarm lure.
What are these?
Yeah, there you go.
What are these pins you're talking about?
Well, James had the competitive advantage. They're acrylic, non-toxic to bee paint
Come
pens.
up there, Mark.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, the markers from
Yeah.
marking
Yeah.
pins.
And the bees don't pick it off. The bees don't, not like they do the Posca pens. The Posca
Yeah.
pens, they seem to pick
Good
it
looking
off.
swarm lure there, Mark.
So much nicer than the Posca pens.
Okay.
And cheaper because I'm the only guy that sells the queen set on
They're way
on
cheaper
Amazon,
than Posca
so.
pens.
I keep giving Bob a hard time, telling him I'm gonna order one pen.
You guys,
No, I don't list it like that.
do you guys have any? Is there anyone that has one to show on the camera?
Yeah, well, Mark just held one up, but I got a couple. I got a couple to show you.
Holy cow!
Here they are. Here's one.
Bewares.co, Jack. Go, Jack.
Oh, those little pins. Okay, all right, got you.
You just go and
Thank you. Got it.
get it right from Bob.
I've been
For
using
Amazon.
I've been using fluorescent ones, and not really going by the color code. Just
Now you can't be a beekeeper anymore. You're fired.
You're fired.
I know.
You're fired. Surrender your bees.
I keep telling everybody up here, there's no way, so if you're a beekeeper, first off, you can't be fired because you're a slave to the bees. And
Oh, the
slave
bees
trade
will
has been
fire
illegal-
you.
That's the truth.
Yeah, the slave trade has been illegal forever. So you just got to get back to work.
Yeah.
They don't fire you; they just mistreat you from time
They
to time.
fire you up.
And I've been putting that on my
Light you up.
resume. I'm a CEO of 60,000 workers.
Yes.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
So check this is one of our raffle giveaways for the
Oh, nice.
shop tomorrow.
Nice.
Mr. Ricky
Ricky
Rourke
Rourke.
made
Ricky,
this
nice.
observation hive for us out of wormy chestnut from his own house when I guess he did
Some renovations.
some renovations. He said that wormy chestnut tree is no longer around. So that's reclaimed wood from his own house that he made this observation hive for us.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's
Hey,
pretty
Charlie,
fun.
can I drop a link to those pins?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, the wormy chestnuts extinct down
Yeah.
in that part of the country.
Yeah. So yeah, that came out of
Chestnut-
his
That's
own.
not been extinct for over 100 years.
Yeah. But it's pretty. It's really pretty.
It's very nice. I actually I was mistaking it for oak when I first had seen the picture of it. I thought it was oak, and I didn't realize the two of them have a similar wood grade. I suppose.
Yeah, there was a guy that brought some in yesterday, and I planed it for him. One of my mentees, and Dad always talked about it. It has the strength of an oak, but it has the weight of a poplar tree. Where it's real light, but it's easy to work, but it would last just better than an oak tree. And they were dead when he was a young man, a young boy. But they were still standing, he said, and you could cut them down, and they were still solid. Are you putting it in, Bob?
Yeah, I'm getting it here.
All right.
I'm slow. And I'm a couple beers in.
It's the beers. The Yinglings.
Yeah, and I've had bariatric surgery, so alcohol definitely absorbs in my system much different than everybody else's.
So
But it goes
does that
away
mean that we should be cautious clicking on this link that you just put on there? Like,
No,
maybe
that's an
sell a link
Amazon
to
link.
Pens.
That's an Amazon link.
An Amazon link to what though? Are you sure it's the pens?
That's the trouble. To what?
Yeah, it depends. I like Amazon for shipping because the difference is I make a little bit more money when it's ordered through my website, but on Amazon, I don't have to front the shipping money. So even though on my website, when something's ordered, the shipping is paid, but I don't get that money directly in my bank account, right? It takes a few days. So I end up having to pay the shipping up front, waiting on reimbursement from the credit card processor. So when you do it through Amazon, they just kind of take it out of the balance that the customer's paid, and it ends up being a little bit better. Oh, David's had it too. So he knows if he drinks at all, lightweight, serious lightweight, you'd be like, this dude's a wuss.
It's
Yeah,
funny
right.
because when we used to go down to Seattle to do our flight training down there, we'd get down there. In fact, one ball game, there was a bunch of us that went out down there. We took the flight instructor from flight safety out with us, and our sim time was we're supposed to be in the flight simulator that next morning, and he called her quits early. Of course, we finished off the baseball game, went home. You know, we're all ready to go in the flight simulator the next morning. This guy, he couldn't figure out how we show up, but you know, it's like let's go, let's get this thing going.
Oh man!
But you know,
Probably throwing up everywhere.
no, it was you know, the alcohol content down in the States. All it does is just makes you run to the washroom a whole lot more.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the beer sucks here.
What do you think customs will say if I try to bring Everclear across the border? Well, I know there's like a limit that you can bring like one bottle, I think. At least that's coming into the States. I don't know about going out.
No, Brad wanted grits.
I'm bringing that in my suitcase. If
See,
they
I
try
don't
to
know.
stop me at the border, I'm like, I'm from South Carolina, man. Canada don't have grits. I had to bring some with me.
I don't know, because I think the rules are different. Like if I go to the States and bring stuff home, or if you bring things here, I think that's different.
Yeah,
So
it is.
I can't tell you based on what they allow me, and I might not even know that anymore because I haven't been south for quite some time.
No, you're still accurate.
brought
Brad.
two
It's the same way. It
You
depends on
you
the
could just phone them or something.
yeah.
Go on the website.
Or just take a chance and
I'll
take
just
the
call
loss.
Trudeau and be like, yo, can I bring
Yeah.
some Everclear over? I'll bring you a bottle if you meet me at the border.
Well, first of all, Bob, will they let you get on the plane in the States with it?
Well, I was gonna put it in my
Put it
In
in
your
my
check
bag.
bag, right?
check bag,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
With the grits. We could have grits and Everclear for breakfast.
Man, yeah, breakfast of champions, man.
Breakfast of Champions. Yeah, there you go.
You're like, what was the show like? Shit, I don't remember.
But them grits was good, man.
They told me I was in my boxers the whole time. I don't get it.
It won't get here if you put it in your check bag, Bob.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Customs
Bob
would be
will be
like, yep,
walking
that
around
can stay right here.
Bob would be walking around the conference wearing a veil and his boxers and nothing else.
That's it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think you're better to get something at duty free at the airport.
They won't have the same stuff.
Maybe not.
No.
No, they're not going to sell 190 proof Everclear at the airport.
Do they, Brad? Do they have 190? Do they have Everclear in Canada?
No.
No.
Well, it's not the most delicious stuff, but you could light a fire with it.
I
Yeah.
don't. I
It's-
don't know
it's
alcohol
made
very
of-
well.
They won't even sell it in the state of Maryland either.
Really?
No, because the college students used to get so damn wound up on it. So they outlawed it in the state of Maryland.
Well, now there is Everclear in other states. It's just not 190 proof.
I don't know. I got some in the closet in there. It might be.
We have 150 proof Everclear here, but it's not at every liquor store. It's
I
only
got
certain-
mine out.
Well,
mine-
Ohio has drive-through liquor stores. Like it was like an old Jiffy Lube or something. You can
Yeah,
just pull up and, hey, give me all the alcohol. You know,
That's crazy.
I think there's some in St. Louis, some drive-through liquor stores. There's some.
really?
Yeah.
That's
Hey,
impressive.
Charlie, you weren't the reason you weren't referencing yourself when you're talking about the college students and all that, were you? Because I feel like there's a story there.
No.
Charlie insulated himself from them college folks.
Right. Yep. Sounds like a good story anyway, right?
Yeah, well.
Oh, I could tell y'all some stories, but we don't have time for that from the Navy. Y'all would, I mean, if you have a bad opinion of me now, it would be even worse after those stories. There's a drive-through liquor store half a mile from my house. Well, that's no fun. You couldn't even drink enough to by the time you got home.
You can walk a half a mile. I can walk a half a mile.
Oh,
Ride the lawnmower down there.
Yeah.
Now you're sounding like who was it? George Jones got
George
a DUI on his riding lawnmower.
yeah.
Old possum.
We've seen you do a perfect 10, Brad.
A perfect 10. Sorry?
On the ice.
Davey's
Oh,
stories
yeah.
are the best and the worst. That's
That
for
was a
sure.
cartoon fall, wasn't it? It was kind of like feet go out, you just kind of hang in air for a few seconds, and then
Earth shook for 10 minutes. And
that's what it felt like. Well, you know, like they say, down like a sack of potatoes. Well, that's a big sack of potatoes.
Hey, Charlie, how do y'all go from beekeeping
Nothing
talk
touching me.
to drinking and Everclear?
What's that? What's that, Tim? Tom?
I said, how do y'all go from talking about bees to drinking Everclear and all this jazz?
That's
Well,
what
you'll learn the later we go, the a little more.
Natural
Rowdy,
progression.
you're a git.
I can answer that one. You see, so down here at the conference, some treatments are for the bees, some treatments are for the beekeepers.
Yeah.
Right. This is my Propolis tonight.
You got to remember we're all old too.
Yeah.
Right.
And then when we go off the air, it gets even better.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I remember one evening, Charlie. I know Jack was there. I don't remember if Bob was there then. But that went on for like an hour or so after that, well beyond my bedtime. So
I
that was
know.
interesting.
Yeah, it's after midnight here now. I'm going to go ahead and shut the chat down for tonight, and everybody can stay in. Hold
That
on.
means Charlie's got to go to bed because he's got to work tomorrow.
Now I'm going to that conference tomorrow.
In St. Louis?